What up, what up, what up, everybody, and happy Saturday, happy MCU, Black Widow conversation Saturday, of course, the Falcon and Winter Soldier Saturday, and just a good day. It's a beautiful day out here in St. Louis, and I hope you guys are having a great day as well. We are back yet again, breaking down the latest episode of the Falcon and Winter Soldier. We're going to be talking a little bit of MCU news up top, and particularly with the Black Widow trailer dropping. We're going to give you guys a little breakdown of what we thought of the trailer, and again, if this maybe helped out the excitement level, because this has been lacking with the delays of this film, but so excited to be here. If this is your first time tuning in, my name's Elliot. Welcome to Movie Files. We go live every single Saturday to discuss the latest MCU show, which in this case is the Falcon and Winter Soldier Episode 3 titled Power Broker, as well as give you our takes and our opinions on the latest MCU news. And I don't do this alone. I have some amazing co-hosts that will be joining us soon, as well as a special guest. But again, before we dive into this awesome conversation, again, thank you all for tuning in and watching this live. If you are watching live, go ahead and thumbs up this video, share the video. Let's have a discussion in the comments. And if you're watching this on the replay, if you could do the same, it would be greatly appreciated. So with that, all of that out of the way, want to bring in our co-host, which this co-host here, she wasn't here last week. We missed her, but she is back and better than ever because she's had so many conversations in the last 24 hours. I know her brain is just like going all over the place, but we love having Amanda's opinion on here, and I'm so excited to have her on. Hashtag Team Kong. What's going on, Amanda? How are you doing?
Hey, I missed you guys last week. I'm so happy to be back, and yes, Team Kong all the way. I'm so happy to be here. I love doing this on Saturdays.
It's so much fun, and we got a really good episode to break down. And we want to discuss some, Zemo, dancing on the dance floor. And I'm gonna need that spinoff show of Zemo going to different clubs and seeing what see how he can work.
We need to go to the club with Zemo. That's
exactly. It's a party when Zemo's involved. But Amanda, if you want to let the people know where they can find you and all that great stuff, the stage is yours.
Yeah, you guys can find me over at AMX NDA Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. I just posted my Falcon and Winter Soldier Episode 3 review over at Candid Cinema on YouTube, and you guys can check out my website, candidxcinema.com.
No doubt. Me and Amanda and Chris, who we'll bring here in a bit, we were talking, our other buddies across the pond with DC, and, that's a whole nother conversation. But we got some good stuff to talk about with Marvel, with this Black Widow news, as well as the Falcon and Winter Soldier. So we're going to break it all down for you guys. And so glad that Amanda is back with us to do so. And then bring in our second co-host. This gentleman here has some great takes. I can't wait to see where she's at with this episode, because if you all don't know, Chris is kind of on the fence with, Falcon, and particularly Anthony Mackie. So I would love to get his take on this episode, and of course all the great news I'm going to break down. Talking about the one and only Chris from Tait's Take. What's going on, man?
What's up? Happy Saturday, my guy. What's
Happy
up,
Saturday, man? Hey, man, glad to be back. This is one of the highlights of my week, man. I'm glad to be back with you all, and we'll have our guests in here in a little bit, man. But how you been, Chris? How you been doing?
Everything's cool, man. This week I actually got my vaccine, so
nice.
I just activated my X genes. So if you see me turn into the werewolf from Thriller, just know what's up.
It's just part of the side effects, right?
It's just part of the process. That's the process.
No doubt, man. Hey, Chris, if you want to let the people know where they can find you, and also some of the latest content you have on Tait's Take.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate you guys having me on, of course, every week. And you guys can find me at Tait's Take. My YouTube channel description is in the bio to this video. You can find my social on there: Instagram, Twitter, email, all that kind of good stuff. Just made a video for Concrete Cowboy on Netflix, and you guys can check that out right now. Almost every week we're doing video reviews. I do documentaries, all that kind of good stuff. So if you're into that kind of coolness, like Movie Files and Candid Cinema, just join on to the Tait's Take. Like, we can all just be friends together.
No doubt, man. Chris, man, Amanda, did you see Concrete Cowboy yet by chance?
I did not, but I love Idris Elba, so
we'll be watching. Yeah, Chris, man, I know you got your review out there, but just a little preview for the people out there, man. What was your thoughts on Concrete Cowboy, man?
All right, this is you want the TikTok short version
of TikTok,
yeah. Yeah, that movie is not it. However, it's cool to see like Black people and horses. Like, it's a whole new world to learn about. That's cool to see. I would maybe just take a documentary on PBS rather than just make a whack movie. Because I saw your review, E. I love Caleb and I love Idris, of course. Yeah. But I didn't believe Caleb could be this thug kid. They could have just got a real thug kid. This is a Broadway actor. If you really can't step into that lane, if you watch Atlanta, I don't know if you watched Atlanta with Childish Gambino.
Season 3,
hopefully.
comes
Right,
out.
but the rapper, I forget his name now, but that's a Broadway actor, but he don't come off like a Broadway actor in the show. The dude just got
Brian
enough
Terry
range.
Henry.
Yeah, exactly.
Paperboy.
Yeah, Paperboy, of course. It's been so long I forgot the dude's name, but yeah, Caleb cannot pull that off. The story is hella predictable.
Yeah,
and at the end of the day, it's not whack because you at least get to learn about the community, but like, that is lazy.
It was kind of lacking. And again, that's just our opinion. Again, Amanda, you might love it. Idris Elba, he's okay. It's just not enough. It's just something missing with the film. But we're not talking about that anymore. Check it out. Again, our reviews. Tate's review. Tate's Take, and check out mine. And give it a watch because it is pretty interesting. Black folks on horses in Philadelphia. Did not know that. Who knew? Exactly right. But last but not least, we got my guy come in. I've had the privilege in the last year or so to really get to know this guy here. Been a guest on his channel plenty of times. We actually cover the Falcon Winter Soldier on his channel. He's been killing the game with his video essays. He does a lot of great reviews. He has his own website that does reviews. He has his own empire over at FilmSpeak, and I'm talking about the one and only Griffin. What's going on, my man?
What's up, guys? I don't know about empire.
It's an empire, bro. It's growing, man. I'm loving what you're doing over there at FilmSpeak, man.
Good lord. It's great, man. I'm happy to be here to be talking Marvel, Falcon, the Winter Soldier, all that good stuff. Concrete Cowboy, though. Now you have my interest. I wasn't sold on it, but I don't know.
Check it out, man. You might. It's something to take away from it. Again, just learning something new. But it was just the execution was a little bit lacking. But I know something that's not lacking, and that is the great content that you have, my friend Griffin. If you want to, you guys love the segues this morning or this afternoon, Griffin. If you want to let the people know where they can find you and a little bit about your awesome empire, about FilmSpeak.
My empire. Yeah, you can head on over to the FilmSpeak channel, and you can check out all the content we post there weekly. We do video essays. Elliot and I talk Falcon and the Winter Soldier, every Friday. We have interviews up there occasionally, and then we have a lot of great content on the filmspeak.net website if you're into more written stuff. So go check that out. It is growing, and that's exciting, and I'm having fun doing it. So yeah.
Said every week, do yourself a favor and check out my amazing co-host content. You will not be disappointed. And of course, when we have these incredible guests, guys, do yourself a favor, subscribe, follow. You're going to have a great time. So speaking of great time, we got a lot of great discussions to talk about this Saturday. Before we get into the Falcon and Winter Soldier episode 3, we got a new trailer to discuss. And last week we talked about it briefly in regards to the Disney Plus, announcement with Black Widow, which Amanda and Chris, or I should say Amanda and Griffin, we didn't have you guys on last week. So I would love to get your opinions first. Starting with you, Amanda. Next, I should say July 9th, Disney Plus theaters. Good move, smart move, a little bit too late. What was your thoughts on that announcement last week?
Oh, it's like 10 years too late for Black Widow, but I'm happy that they're moving forward with Disney Plus.
Yeah,
theaters are not open where I'm at, so it's making me sad. Everyone else is like, oh, I went to the theater for like Godzilla versus Kong and IMAX, and I'm just like, thanks guys, like rub it in for sure. Like I still can't go, but I think having it on Disney Plus is really smart because theaters aren't open everywhere. And if people feel safer at home, again, like obviously it's better that way. I will spend the money on Black Widow just because I do want to see it. Again, long overdue, and the trailer looked pretty good. So I'm happy for Scarlett. I am. Yeah. That it's finally coming out. Don't know why they pushed it all the way to July.
Interesting move there. Yeah.
I get it. I'm surprised that nothing else has been moved movie-wise, like the Eternals or Spider-Man 3. Not jinxing it. I'm sorry that I even said it, but I'm excited for it. I am now.
What about you, Griff? What was your take on this decision of putting it on Disney Plus? And was it something they should have done last year?
Yeah, I mean, this is long overdue. I think they just finally got to a point where they're like, okay, fine, we'll do that. We'll do the split release because that's what Warner Brothers is doing, and it seems to be working for them. The only difference is you actually have to pay an extra $30 for it on Disney Plus, which is like, at first I was like, I could sort of rationalize, and I'm like, okay, you're getting exclusive access to this in the comfort of your home. Bring over a couple friends, it pays for itself. But like, now with like seeing what Warner Brothers is doing and like the shrunken release windows and everything, it's just sort of like, I don't know about the Premier Access thing anymore. It just seems like a little bit of a cash grab on their part, which I understand why, but also like, come on. So yeah. Anyways, in regards to it, being moved to July, I get it because I think more theaters will be open, not just domestically in the States, but like internationally. Hopefully that is the case.
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes sense. As for the trailer, I mean, I'm kind of not digging the trailers that come out for this movie that use a lot of previous footage from the old Avengers movies for like half of its runtime. I'm just like, yeah, I get it. Yeah, we know everything that she's went through. Okay, so show us like some new stuff. Like get us excited about this. Don't just give us like a highlight reel of the Black Widow.
Yeah.
And there were some cool moments in this trailer for sure. And I there's a couple lines in there with David Harbour, talking about like his girls or something like that. And so I didn't even think about the fact that maybe he was like a parental figure to her or something. So I don't know. That was interesting. But again, a lot of it was stuff we had seen before. So nothing really exciting.
Yeah.
But I am looking forward to the film just based off of like some of the stuff that I had already seen from it. But at this point, I'm just sort of like my excitement is sort of plateaued. I just want to see the movie now.
Yeah, it definitely has that unfortunate kind of, with Wonder Woman 84. We'll see what happened with Bond with the delay after delay. I mean, we saw what happened with New Mutants, even though that film had its own 2-year hiatus. But it really does suck that these films have been affected so hard in regards to delays, and just the excitement level doesn't seem to be there. But let's just transition into it with, we got the trailer. Which, we'll kind of break down for the purposes of YouTube, not pulling the stream. I didn't want to play the actual trailer, but I took some steals from the actual trailer. As Griffin brings up, it starts off with the flashbacks, right? Which I think the purpose of that is to remind you all that she is an Avenger. She's the fallen Avenger. She sacrificed her life. We get a bit of a history lesson of a sort to just remind us, she was an integral part of the MCU for almost 10 plus years. And this gets you, gets you in the feels, I guess, just to kind of remind you all why we love this character. But like Amanda said, it's like 10 years too late to kind of have this character have her do. But we'll see what they have up their sleeve. But, we get the intro, and when again, they hit you in the feels, they show you when the last time we saw her in Endgame. But actually going into some new footage here, we see, number one, they got the new date coming out this summer. And then I assume this is Natasha Romanoff as a kid. Interesting hair choice. Yeah, it could be Florence Pugh, or there could be a third, a secret sister out there that may or may not be the Taskmaster. I don't know. We'll see. What Marvel likes to throw some curveballs at us here and there, but as Griffin mentions in the trailer, we see David Harbour, which I don't know if he's not her actual dad, because her dad, she never knew him. And I think Red Skull even said your dad was some Russian, probably, I don't know what her dad was, but I guess like Griffin said, he's kind of stepped in. It's kind of like a fatherly figure, which I assume he's also a part of the serum, Super Soldier Serum, that may or may not tie into Falcon and Winter Soldier. And who knows if David Harbour will survive this film. But, the big thing out there is Rachel Weisz may or may not be the Taskmaster herself, which, speaking of the Taskmaster, we see him enact, him or her. We don't know who's behind that mask. And I think the big villain might be the guy that's controlling the Taskmaster. That may be a power broker, potentially, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But nonetheless, we see some action. I thought this was a really cool shot of the explosion, and it cuts right into the action of them flying in the sky. And the action looks great. This looks like Jason Bourne, John Wick, Atomic Blonde with the Black Widow spin. So Amanda, kicking it to you first. What did you think about this trailer? Did you get excited for it? Is it still just like, what are we doing with this film? Your take on this new trailer?
Well, like we said, the beginning of it was just all flashbacks. I kind of got mad when I saw the Endgame scene. I'm like, but then what's the point of this movie if you're going to show like that? You know what I mean? So I was just, why put that in? But as it went on, I did get more excited. I feel like it has the same action style as the Winter Soldier, and that's like my favorite MCU film, as you guys know. So I think if they keep that same level and keep that same Natasha from Winter Soldier, I think it'd be really cool. Again, action sequences are what, they're getting me hyped. They really are. So yeah, I'm excited for it. She looks good in the different suits, and I'm obsessed with Florence Pugh. So I cannot wait to see more of her. She kicked butt in that trailer, so I'm excited.
Oh yeah, her. She'll be back later in the MCU, which they just dropped. They're dropping, to me, they're just dropping the ball with this film. That the news that she's making, that she's going to be in Hawkeye, and then I don't think it's a coincidence that they had this trailer the day after the Falcon and Winter Soldier, and just how they're just handling this film is just so weird. But Chris, man, your take on this new trailer. Are you hyped? Are you excited for it? What's your opinion on this new trailer, man?
No, I'm not. I know that this movie will be great. I know that it'll probably be like nothing I could like say that's bad about this, but I haven't watched the original Black Widow trailers in a while. So this, watching this today, I was like, okay, cool. But I remember liking the other ones. Like I was like more excited about those. And I don't know if it's like the timing as well as like, like whatever, but I think it was like the content of the actual trailer. Like Chris said, I didn't need the flashbacks. I see what they're trying to do. Like, hey, don't forget, there's Avengers in this movie. Like, cause spend this money. Like, I don't think this movie, without the pandemic, would have made $1 billion. That's just me. I just can't see it. So like the whole pushing it and trying to finagle the box office, I don't know if it's enough to get it where it needs to go. The success of Godzilla versus Kong, that should help them with knowing like, okay, people are going to the movies. We'll make some money off this thing. Yeah. But this trailer, I was like, damn, like this, like for your comeback trailer, I was like, I think the other ones are better. But I have to go back and really and watch them. But that's like what I felt about it. So that's where I'm also plateaued.
Yeah.
I'll watch it, of course.
Right. And same, I mean, going right back to you, Griff, in regards to your personal opinion on, are you going to be looking at this at home for the first time? Or, of course, once in LA and everything opens up, will you be eventually seeing this in the theater? And just, again, if you have any other takes on the actual trailer.
Yeah, I mean, like I'll definitely go to a theater to see it. I mean, I don't know. It depends on how they're doing like screenings and stuff like that. If they'll do them in person at an actual theater, or if like we'll have to watch it digitally. Right. For this one, I don't really care which way I watch it. Like I think it's fine. There's not like, it doesn't seem like anything was like formatted for like IMAX or stuff like that. So that's like, that's usually the big thing when I'm considering how I want to see it for the first time. But like, it was just like this trailer in general just was like, I agree. Like it was like so weak. It just really didn't build up excitement. It's sort of like Disney doesn't even like care about it anymore. And if Disney doesn't even have, faith in it, then like, why should we? And I know, and like we're all saying, I know it's going to be a good movie, but like, well, like just like, do something to drum up excitement again. Cause we haven't had like a proper Marvel movie in so long.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so I don't know, like and going back to what you were saying, Elliot, the Bourne stuff, the assassin, like sort of like spy thriller stuff that harkens back to Winter Soldier, that gets me really excited. That was one of the big things that like I loved from those initial trailers, and I mean I'm probably more excited about this movie than most people, but even me, I'm sort of just like, all right, like okay, let's just see this thing for what it is. It should have come out so long, and I have no idea why they are like clinging on to this thing.
And to that last point, I think it still is something to be said about this was supposed to be the first thing out of the gate for Phase 4. Followed up with the first show was supposed to be Falcon and Winter Soldier. So I am to only assume that there will be a lot of connections and some ties from this movie for the Falcon and Winter Soldier. Again, whether it be, which I mean, I mentioned a little bit while we were watching the trailer, but I think his name is the actor is Ray Wilson, if I'm not mistaken. And he's playing the Dracove, I believe, which again in the trailer looks like he's the one that's controlling the Taskmaster. But in this particular shot of the trailer, I think it's safe to say that that young lady or the person in the frame with him is Rachel Weisz, which I don't know if that plays into the whole theory. I think a lot of people are theorizing that Rachel Weisz may be a Taskmaster, or maybe there's multiple Taskmasters, but we'll see what comes of this villain. But any Amanda, any connections, any theories that you have with this film tying into the Falcon and Winter Soldier? Because again, this was supposed to be first movie out of the gate, and Falcon and Winter Soldier was supposed to be the first TV out of the gate. Any theories on how those two properties could be connecting?
I honestly have no idea. I said I was going to stop theorizing from WandaVision, so I have no idea. There could be like some super soldier type of connection with the serum. I have no idea, but Taskmaster looks cool, so we'll see what happens. But I have nothing. I have nothing for you.
Chris, any takes on the Taskmaster, the villain behind the scenes, and this Dracov character?
Yeah, I'm not sure because like especially now that everything's all rearranged, I can't imagine it being anything like of real value. Because then they wouldn't have either switched the things around, or it was like necessary, then they would have just scrapped it and maybe made a new one. But so like I can't see it really tying in for us to really remember that. Falcon will be done in a few weeks, and then this is not coming out for 3-4 months. So I can't really see anything being like drastic. Maybe like to the next movie, the next film that comes like after, maybe they can try to like remix it that way. But I don't know.
What about you, Griff? Any takes on
Well, just in terms of like how it would connect, like given this was supposed to come out first and then Falcon and Winter Soldier, I think like obviously, yeah, the Super Soldier is the serum, just sort of like the whole through line of like using these people as like government assassins, basically. I think that's sort of what your connection to Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But obviously, I don't think it was that intricately connected. If they feel comfortable to distance the two properties and like put Falcon and Winter Soldier out first and then Black Widow. I think this is just more so setting up like Florence Pugh's character as the next Black Widow and then like allowing her to go forward with it, which is really interesting because I am like bummed that we learned that she's going to make it out, because like I actually thought she was going to die, because like Natasha is wearing her vest in Infinity War. So it's like, oh, okay, so something sort of like happens here that like impacts Natasha's character in Infinity War. But I guess not. As for like Taskmaster, I'm fairly confident it's probably Rachel Weisz's character. That seems to make sense. And like if you look at how like the character is moving and like the build, it doesn't necessarily. It looks like a woman is in there. Again, I could be wrong. Maybe it's like an android or something. Or I really hope that's not the case. But like, I don't know. There's something going on with Rachel Weisz's character where I just don't necessarily trust her, and I feel like if she was almost betrayed by one of her own in that regard, and like has to fight up against her, that might be a little bit more interesting of a foil. So, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, and I mean, just to wrap up the conversation before we jump into the Falcon and Winter Soldier, I think, like you guys said, there is probably some connective ties, like Griffin said, regarding the government creating the Black Widow program and creating I can't remember David Harper's name in the comics, but I think he's like a super soldier for Russia. So there probably is some type of serum that maybe they experimented on him, and maybe that the new Black Widows have superpowers. We'll see. But yeah, it'll be really interesting to see if any of these characters from this film maybe make an appearance in Falcon and Winter Soldier again. Maybe it's his Dreykov character, maybe it's Taskmaster introduction there, or it could be Florence Pugh. We know that she's going to be on the Falcon or Hawkeye series a little bit later, and maybe just to hype up the film a little bit more, like, oh, okay. And this again, it could be a finale thing, since we know they shot the finale during the pandemic. So maybe they threw in a Black Widow Easter egg to set up that film to get the hype going. Who knows? But again, I feel like the film has just been kind of fumbling. The marketing and just excitement isn't as high as it was when it first was announced. But we'll see. It's Marvel. You know, we've all been craving for Marvel movies, and this will be, the first one coming out. So, let us know in the comments, guys, if you're watching this live or on the replay, your excitement level for the film, your thoughts on the trailer, your theories on how this film can connect to other things. Let's have a discussion about it. So we are here today to break down the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And
I actually had one more thing that I wanted to bring up, and I didn't know if like any of you guys had anything to say that. So so in the first Avengers, Loki brings up, doesn't he say Dreykov's daughter? So like she killed his daughter in the first Avengers, right? Like when he's like calling her out and stuff. So obviously if he's sort of like working with Taskmaster, he's probably trying to get retribution or like revenge on Natasha for killing his daughter or something like that. So that right there already gives me like Jason Bourne vibes, with just like how like he's having to sort of like reconcile with his past, sort of similar to what's going on with Bucky in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So I don't know. That was just something interesting that sort of just popped into my head. I don't know if you guys had anything to say about that. But
I think that's a great point. It makes sense why he would want to, bring her back in the program and obviously have his sort of vengeance of sorts. And, who knows what the relationship was between Natasha and his daughter. If it was just happened that she accidentally died and Natasha was blamed for it, or she actually was responsible for her death, being an assassin at one point. But it's something to look into, man. Any takes, Amanda or Chris on that?
No, it's a great take. It could happen. I don't know. I agree.
We'll see. Again,
we might get that flashback.
We might.
She actually does that. Yeah.
Exactly.
And again, I hope we get that Budapest flashback with Clint Barton, because I think I don't know if he's been confirmed to be in the film, but I'm pretty sure we'll get that flashback.
He needs to be in it now. I need to know what happens. Okay. It's been too long. I'm tired.
It definitely has, man. Again, it's just a lot of stuff with the Black Widow seems like it's just delayed and held back. But hopefully when this film comes out July 9th, we'll get her whole backstory and make us love the character, and hopefully pass the mantle to Florence Pugh as the new Black Widow. But we'll see. Only time will tell. But let's get into the Falcon and Winter Soldier before we actually dive deep into the recap and breaking down all the moments. Just starting with you, Amanda, just initial take and feelings after this episode. And so far, is it one of your favorites, least favorites?
Oh, I don't want to say it's one of my least favorites, but it is. Even though I had so much fun with this episode, I really love the dynamic between Zemo, Bucky, and Sam. It was interesting. It was really interesting. But it is one of my least favorites because there was too much of the Flag Smashers, and we still got nothing from them. So I'm just... I don't know. I'm in between. I still had fun. It's just the Flag Smashers really just put a damper on this episode for me, unfortunately.
It's almost like it's like the episodes come to like a screeching Hulk whenever they're on screen.
Yeah. I just heard it. But yeah.
Chris, your initial take on this episode, and if this is one of your favorites or if it's just kind of in the middle for you.
This is easily my least favorite episode.
Yeah.
Easily. And as a hater of, the Falcon going into the whole season.
Yeah.
I came in here episode 1. I said, this is a great episode, great pilot. I get 100% feedback. I barely anything I could complain about. Then I came back and I said, I like episode 2 better than 1. So I want to make sure I keep a clear stance. So where I'm at, I've been fair. But episode 3, it lost me early.
Yeah.
But then it brought me back with the ending just to see where we go with Wakanda. So I was very intrigued to see where we go there. So I was like, if it wasn't for that, oh my God. I would cancel Disney right now. But overall, I know we'll get to it. We'll get to it blow by blow. But yeah.
Over one episode of the show, Chris? My God.
Damn.
Mercury's in retrograde.
We discussed it yesterday, Griffin, on your channel, FilmSpeak. Definitely check out that video yesterday, guys. But 24 hours later, Griff, I know how you felt yesterday. Do you feel the same? Is it a little bit better? Is it a little bit worse maybe after a rewatch?
It's probably worse, honestly. I didn't really like it at all. I just it's so interesting for an episode that seems to go in a million one directions. It seems to make no progress. They're just sort of treading water. And everything. And again, the more I think on it, the more I just really struggle with how they've just sort of altered some of the characters to where they don't even feel like the characters that have already been established. And I think that's the thing that's really irritated me about this episode. Sharon doesn't even feel like Sharon. There's a way to do it where you can obviously she's been through a lot and you can explore that, but she can still feel like Sharon Carter. This doesn't feel like the same woman who spoke at Peggy Carter's funeral, and I understand people change, but still within reason. In Zemo, as much as I enjoy Daniel Bruhl just sort of relishing in the character and the screen time, he is so far, at least for me personally, I think he is so far from what he was in Civil War, and just the handling of that character. I don't know. I'm not really getting behind. So yeah, I don't know.
Interesting. So I think this is gonna be a great discussion because I think me and Amanda are a little bit more on the because yesterday I said in my review and on Griffith's channel, and I rewatched it before we went live. It isn't my favorite by any means. But this was so when the show was first kind of presented as obviously we're going to probably be exploring Sam and taking up the mantle, being a Black Captain America, and Bucky dealing with his PTSD, being a Winter Soldier. But then also the other thing was the banter that we got in Civil War, pulling up your seat. And then we get that call back in this episode, the banter between them fighting Spider-Man in Civil War. And this was that type of episode to me. It was just these are the characters, the buddy cop has just been kind of presented, the fun elements of them going on a side mission. And very much so in regards to a comic book run, right? This is a 6-issue comic book run. And you guys remember that time when Bucky and Winter Soldier broke Zemo out of jail and Zemo was on the dance floor? That's the type of episode this was. Just a fun, not necessarily a filler or a throwaway episode, but just kind of just what these two can offer in regards to their chemistry, throwing in this villain in the mix. And like you said, Griff, there are some characterizations that are a little bit different from the last time we've seen them. But, the 5 years haven't been the greatest for everyone, right? Some people have come out a little bit different, as we'll talk about with Sharon, as well as Zemo being a little less hardened. But I think there's a facade. I think he's wearing a mask on the outside, pretending to help Sam and Bucky. But I had fun with the episode, but there definitely are some criticisms that we'll kind of break down. But again, guys, let us know. Start the conversation in the chat in regards to your overall take on this episode as we break it down. So speaking of that, cool little fun fact, and we talked about it yesterday, Griffin, in regards to the writer of this episode, Derek Kolstad, is the same writer for all 3 John Wick films, and this definitely had a lot of John Wick vibes or Atomic Blonde vibes in regards to the underground of the MCU, assassins and where they hide out and where they party at. So I thought that was a really cool concept. And who knows what the future holds for, we talked about it yesterday in regards to the Power Broker, but I think there might be some other John Wick characters maybe that might pop up in this show a little bit later in the MCU in the future. But as we kind of open up the episode with kind of bring me a little bit back to WandaVision, we get a commercial. We open up the episode with the commercial as they kind of give us the GRC and what they do and kind of what they haven't done, which is ultimately looked out for the entire world. They seem to be welcoming people back from the blip, but as we know, Karli, she feels like they have been forgotten, which sets up her whole mission. But speaking of mission, we also open up the episode with John Walker on his mission to try to find the Flag Smashers as he spat on in the face by this Russian guy who offered some food and everything and on shelter to Karli and her crew. So starting with you, Amanda, just your take on this opening sequence with the commercial. Again, the proper propaganda of the government saying, hey, everything's good. We're distributing, sources to everyone, but we know that's not the truth because people like Karli feel like they're forgotten, as well as on John Walker getting spat on and being disrespected. Captain America is not respected around the world like Steve was.
I feel like the commercial was out of place. I understand why it's there. I get it, as you said, the resources and them trying to help everyone out. But I feel like if the commercials were consistent in episode 1 and 2, like they were with WandaVision, and we were able to kind of connect that, it would have worked a bit better. I just felt like it didn't make sense to start that at the episode.
Yeah.
But I started laughing when they were disrespecting Captain America. Like just John Walker in general. I'm just like, you're being rude. Like Steve would never act that way on him. Like he would never do that or say any of that or act that way. So like you kind of get what you deserve, buddy. I'm sorry. It's bad. I know I'm like giving so much heat to John Walker and I shouldn't, but
no, I think honestly, that's the intention of the show. I think they're doing a good job of making us not like this character. Yeah, Wyatt Russell's doing a good job of that.
He is doing a good job. I respect him as an actor, but like the character, I literally, when I saw the shield, when the door like slammed open, I saw the shield. I'm like, no, why are we starting the episode with him? No, like I just got so upset. But he's not acting like Captain America. He's trying to get into the mindset, but it's just not working. And then that's what gets everyone even more irritated. So
I totally agree. And to the point that you mentioned, like Cap wouldn't go into a mission saying, don't take any mercy, whatever he said at the beginning of the episode. It's like this so opposite of Captain America, or at least Steve Rogers' way about a mission. But Chris, man, your take on this commercial, again, the propaganda of the government, of the displaced program. I think the quote was reset, restore, rebuild. But obviously that hasn't been viewed for everyone, especially the Flag Smashers. But also your take on Mr. John Walker being disrespected.
Yeah, I think the commercial was like to show us like the it's kind of like an American statement. Like here's the commercial. This is like the vision that we're putting out there. Here's what we're putting out there, and then it flashes to like real life where it's like the police like just knocking down doors and shit, which is like the American way. Well, it's like the American way.
Yeah.
But I think that's what they were trying to do there. You remember when George W. Bush got a shoe thrown at him? I don't know. And at that point, like no one liked George. That was before Trump, so that's all we had to hate. So like we didn't like him back then, but like I was still like, you can't just be throwing shoes at our president. So that's how I felt when they spit at John Walker. I was like, hey, I know he's a jerk, but he's spitting at our fucking hero. That's what I thought of. But, I remember I talked about it last week. Like the real problem with John Walker is that he's probably a good dude, but it's like when like regular weirdos in high school become cops, like, and they just get power trips. I think that's like having a problem with, because like last week we started talking about how like we go against the grain, like we got to go on our own, and John Walker, you go by the books, and then now already one episode later he's like, we got to go off the grid. Like he's just spiraling into this whole thing that I thought he would turn into.
This is a great point. We're seeing that transition of, John Walker trying to be Captain America, but ultimately probably will end up being the U.S. agent, which is more the villainous side of that character. But Griff, man, your take on the commercial, the America, this is our new Captain America. This is the plan we have in store for you all, but those plans haven't come to fruition quite yet. And also your take on John Walker and his, his ways of handling this mission.
Yeah, in a interesting way, it is sort of like this weird like Black Mirror sort of thing where it's like when you compare it to like what Steve was doing when he was in World War II, when he was going raiding Hydra bases and like taking over that stuff, and then we see like sort of the inverse of that where it's like the I don't want to say they're like Hydra agents, but it is sort of like more towards that side. They're going in, they're raiding like these people who are trying to help others. So it is just sort of interesting. I like how they're like contrasting what Steve did with what John is doing. I still think that like I don't hate John. Like he's an interesting character. He's obviously a dick, and like there's a lot to sort of like explore with him, but I don't outright hate him just yet. I think what's interesting about it is the show is like continuously having people hate him. And so it's sort of just like, okay, well, if everyone's going to hate me, then I'm just going to be the villain. Like I'm just going to go there. So it's like everyone is just sort of like, dumping all that stuff on him. And I think that's eventually going to like cause him to like flip a switch and just be like, all right, well, if this is the person that you see me as, I'm just going to be this person. So I think that's an interesting sort of thing to explore there. Because right now he still is very much just like a guy doing a job. He's a little bit of a dick and he doesn't really understand what he's into. So, but I liked the scene, and I might be in the minority here, but I do like when they balance out like the stuff going on with U.S. Well, he's not U.S. agent yet, but like John Walker, and like what Bucky and Sam are doing. I don't know. They're all such interesting characters that I like getting time to spend with them. And I think the interesting thing is that like he's sort of using Sam and Bucky to get to where he needs to go. He's just going to
riding their coattail. He's riding their coattail.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't. I literally can't.
It's the kid in school where you do a group project and they come in last minute being like, I helped out, But it's an interesting thing you brought up there, Griffin, in regards to, again, if you want me to be the villain, okay, I'll go ahead and wear that suit or that mask per se. But it would be really interesting. I think it's the reason why they showed us I assume that's his wife last week. Again, I think in the credits it said Mrs. Walker. I don't think they gave her an actual name, but I think we will see her again, and maybe she'll be the one that says, you aren't the same John Walker. What's going on with you? And it might explain him again. If my wife doesn't look at me as Captain America, who knows his relationship with him and his Battlestar, Lamar, if he goes against the grain. But I think, like you're right, there's going to be enough push to have him push over the edge to ultimately become the bad guy that everyone assumes that he is. So it'll be really interesting to see what we get with that character. And I think I read too, not diving too much into the rabbit hole of Reddit, but I think it was revealed the other day that number one, they revealed that next week's episode will be around the same length, and it's supposedly predominantly focused on John Walker and Lamar as far as their relationship. So we'll see more of them and kind of maybe explain their relationship and the dynamic of those two. So we'll see what comes of next week. But moving on to the big part of this episode, which is Prison Break. Which is so interesting to see the dynamic between Bucky breaking Zemo out of jail versus in Civil War, how we know that it was, obviously Zemo getting him out of jail. So seeing those tables turns are very interesting. But as we see, they have this moment, and we talked about it last week. We all kind of knew that when Zemo sees Bucky the first time, just for the hell of it, for shits and giggles, that he was going to use those code words just to be like, just seeing what's under the skin there. And I kind of like that moment. As Bucky says, those words no longer work on me. But there is something to be said that there is still something deep down inside of Bucky, aka the Winter Soldier, which we see him coming out a little bit later. But we get the trio, guys. We get this kind of Prison Break moment, which I don't know if you guys, I'm a sucker for when movies and shows do this, where like they have a plan in mind, and normally the plan either doesn't come true, or the plan that they kind of say to the audience is kind of, a remix, but they actually, Bucky says the plan, it goes through. We see Zemo get out of jail. We see Zemo in action. We never saw this in Civil War. I think we forget that he is a Soviet, Sokovian soldier, so he has some good hand-to-hand combat, and we saw a lot of that in this episode. So Zemo can hold his own in the fight, but as we see him getting out of jail and meeting, Sam, and Sam is definitely not happy about this prison break of a sorts. But kicking it off to you, Amanda, before we go into Zemo, aka Bruce Wayne, and his wealth of toys that he has, what was just your take on this prison break, this kind of reunion of a sorts between Bucky and Zemo?
First and foremost, Sam really cares about Bucky because he wanted to go with him. So I'm like, oh, besties, they're really bonding. I'm like, thank God. But going in there, you had like the fantastic score that works so well. The music cues, Winter Soldier, you have hit Zemo's theme kind of being mixed together, which I really enjoyed. I was obviously worried he's gonna say it if I hear like Daybreak and like Freight Train. I was like, okay,
I think
Freight
it was
car,
what I write it down here somewhere. It's like Rusted, 17, logging.
Yeah, if I hear it, oh my God. And he was toying with him, obviously, but I thought it was really funny how Bucky was like, hypothetically, if this were to happen, and then Sam's like, what did you do, Buck? Like, it was just so funny, like the execution. But again, Daniel Brühl is so underappreciated as an actor. He's incredible. He really embodies Zemo, and this whole episode was just wicked for him. And the trio being together, the three of them, like it was funny. Like it really worked. They were kind of all getting it under each other's skin, and like that's always great writing and fun to have like as a dynamic on screen. So it worked for me. Like that was fun. It was just fun.
What about you, Chris? Seeing this, I don't know the quote. It's like my enemies, my friend of my. I don't know the whole. I'm butchering that line, but essentially they have to friend this person that is an enemy in their eyes, and teaming up with Zemo. But just your take on, again, Bucky. This is more so. And we talked about it yesterday, Griffin. This is more so kind of a Bucky episode, more so than it was with Sam. Sam was kind of put on the back burner, but this is Bucky facing making amends to his past with Zemo. But how did you take in this prison break scene here?
All I'm saying is I hope nobody went to the bathroom because they would have missed the whole prison break. I mean, I thought it was okay, it's fine, but like kind of like Griff said, like we don't recognize Sharon. Like now, fucking Zemo's rich now. Like you could have probably saved your family. You could have probably just saved your family with money. But I thought that was interesting. I hated Sam's. It's not like you two are known for frolicking in the sunline. Like no one would. You're trying to set up a like. Stop it! You wouldn't say that in real life. And then the last thing, like overall, is like I love the actor for Zemo. I think he's doing a good job with what he has. It's weird. It's weird that he's rich now and he's like this, like king. But it's still like he's doing it perfectly for what he's been written. But I really thought going into like after episode 1, I thought like Torres would be like that third wheel, kind of making fun of the beef between Sam and Bucky, and that would have been funny. And then they probably would have united, just like ganging up on this kid Torres, because like shut up kid, you don't know anything. And then they would. I thought that would have been like the third wheel. So it's weird to see like Zemo as the third wheel. He's doing the best that he can with it. It's just kind of a little bit weird, and we'll get to the next scene when we get to the next scene. But that's where I was.
Yeah. Or go ahead, Elliot.
No, it's a good point you bring up there, Chris, in regards to seeing this other side of Zemo, and to some people it might be a little bit kind of jarring, because last time we saw him, he was literally a man on the mission. He killed T'Chaka. He was blaming Bucky for the deaths of all that stuff. So it is very different to see this character. But I think this might actually be the real Baron Zemo in regards to what we saw in this versus what we saw in Civil War. And this is again what the shows can give us, like the other side of someone's personality. But I know it is a little bit jarring seeing him poking the jokes and all that different stuff. But cutting it to you, Griff, in regards to the Bucky and Zemo reunion.
Well, I have a couple of issues with just sort of like Bucky in this episode, but in regards to Zemo, it just feels like they completely rewrote him in order to fit the comic accurate version of the character. Because one of the reasons why I really liked him as a villain in Civil War, and maybe this is jumping a little too far ahead, but like, is because he was that working class guy that you could empathize with, who had been wronged by the Avengers, who didn't even care about the same like kind of people that they were trying to protect. His family was killed and all that stuff like that. He was relatable in that regard. And he had sort of this like eat the rich sort of mentality against like Stark and like people like that.
Right.
And I think that's a really compelling villain right there. And that's one of the reasons why I don't think he gets enough credit for what he does in Civil War. Cut to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and it completely undoes all of that because it makes him this wealthy aristocrat who's like kind of he's like snobby, but he's like he's really cultured and stuff as well. And it just it's this weird sort of dynamic where he's like he's like commenting on like American perceptions of like wealthy or I guess well-dressed black men and stuff like that, which is like none of what he's saying is wrong, but it also feels weird coming from the mouth of an international terrorist. So it's like there's like these weird moments with Zemo that I don't think quite work for me, and especially and it all basically just stems from how they rewrote the character to be someone like far less interesting.
Right.
But in regards to the prison break specifically, it's I feel like we're at a point where it's like Bucky can only either like follow orders as the Winter Soldier and kill people, or he'll just like kind of act on impulse by himself. And so like he has this like horrible plan that like he just like haphazardly throws together, and like Sam obviously rightfully sort of calls him out on it, but he doesn't really like think about it, I guess, per se. It's just like this weird sort of like he's either one extreme or the other, and it kind of goes against his like personal redemption arc and all the progress that he's made. And like even like later on in the episode where we see him like completely go full Winter Soldier, and I understand the reason why he did that. Like he's undercover and everything, and he has to keep up the looks or whatnot. But like, he doesn't even really like put up a fight about it. He just sort of like accepts, well, I'm going to be the Winter Soldier now, and I'm going to beat the shit out of people, even though Steve, my best friend, has like worked so hard to try and get me to do this. I've been to therapy for so long. And it just, I don't know. It's a weird sort of like one extreme or the other when it comes to Bucky. And I think this is sort of like in a little, a snapshot of that thing. Yeah.
No, it is, and Bucky, and this is where I hope that we get more of the character development from Bucky, because from just the first Captain America film, him jumping into war, him being, obviously experimenting on to become the Winter Soldier, and not really he's really haven't had a life plan. He's never had control, relating it to Vision in WandaVision, someone that was created from to be Jarvis, someone that was created by Ultron, never really having their own path. So it is kind of interesting to see Bucky. I think Bucky actually likes what he did as a Winter Soldier, but I think there's more Bucky feeling more relatable to Winter Soldier than he does the Bucky Barnes of who he was, because he spent 90 years being this assassin. So I just really would like to explore more of that character, really where his headspace at in regards to, does he really want to let go of that persona of Winter Soldier, or does he want to create this new path as Bucky Barnes, someone that doesn't result to violence? So it's really interesting to see that kind of dynamic, and I hope we explore more of that character. But going into, we kind of briefly touched on it, but Amanda, this your take on, I guess, how did you feel about Baron Zemo being confirmed to be this kind of rich billionaire from Sokovia, who I think Sam asked him, you had this money this whole time? And he said, yeah, my family had wealth, but obviously it was destroyed in, Age of Ultron, or destroyed by Sokovia and all that stuff. So did you have any issues with revealing that he's a billionaire or a rich person, that he could have, he hasn't used that to his resources in the past?
I totally understand what Griffin's saying. Like, you're completely switching the character from Civil War. I get it, believe me, but I think that you kind of needed to change it, I guess. I don't know. I feel like this worked better, because then there was no point in bringing Zemo with them on this journey if he didn't have those resources. Like they could have just left him in jail, like, tell me what you need to know type of thing, and then like they wouldn't have had to like break him out or like any of that. Obviously they wouldn't have known ahead of time, but it's just the way that they wrote it. Like, I think it worked. And again, they're trying to balance like the serious topics with the comedic elements. They did that throughout with the three of them in that dynamic. I didn't mind it. It didn't bother me at all. It was cool to see like the cars that he had, and like his mask was like sitting in the car. Like, I thought it was just a cool aspect for a villain role, because he does put on the mask for the first time in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We didn't see that in Civil War, right? So like this is his, coming out as the villain, like officially as Baron Zemo. So yeah, it didn't bother me, but I totally understand why people like would dislike this kind of characterization for him.
It's very true. And again, in Civil War, we only saw the character as one thing. And again, with a 2.5 hour movie, with obviously introducing Spider-Man, Black Panther, Captain America story, which I know, Amanda, I know Civil War isn't your favorite in regards to the trilogy of Captain America. But, you know, this is, I don't know, maybe this opens the door for a Zemo spinoff show. And joking aside about him going to different clubs with the different dancers, maybe going Zemo and Madripoor, right? Maybe he doesn't go back to prison. You know, as Sharon says, she didn't want to go to jail, so she went to Madripoor. So maybe Zemo will learn more about why he decided to not use his resource, which I'll have to revisit Civil War, but there were moments, you know, checking out in hotel rooms. He had that device that he bought. So I think he used some of his money, but obviously the film didn't explore like this guy's rich and he has like all this money to his disposal. So maybe they'll explore that in future projects. But Chris, man, your take on Zemo, aka Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, I mean, same thing. I thought it was weird that he just all of a sudden had all this money, but like Amanda said, you kind of need that to push the story forward if we're going to be. And it's like, these dudes are like shipping champagne, flying private, like trying to fight crime. Like it's all crazy. I mean, the biggest thing I hated about the moment was like the Sam seeing Zemo out, and then he's like, "What are you doing here?" Like, you know what we're doing here. Like, we flew here. What are you surprised about? You know he's gonna get out of here. Like I thought it was crazy. And then like to go back to last week, I know Brandon had like you were talking about like how like the show is too funny or like they make too many jokes. And I know Brandon, if he was here, he would have hated the Marvin Gaye scene on the plane where these guys are like literally in the middle of a prison break, private jet to fight more crime, and now you're talking about Marvin Gaye, Trouble Man. Just it's like. We're Marvel fans. Like we get the callbacks. We don't need to not all of them. Like even like the seat thing is cool. Of course, no problem. That's great. But like we know we watch the movie. We watch the stuff. Like we're the fans. Like I don't think they would have ever said that.
And it's so funny because I can see someone in the writer room being like, "Oh, that's a great callback." I love that. I didn't have as much issue with that moment because again, I'm a Winter Soldier lover. So anything Winter Soldier reference, I'm just like, I'll take it in, even though the execution could have been done differently. But I know we talked about it yesterday, Griffin. But if you want to kind of explain kind of your take on how you felt that was maybe just didn't feel natural to the character and just maybe it wasn't even necessary.
Yeah, I mean, it was just the whole Trouble Man bit on top of just not being a very funny joke. It just didn't really work for me because it was just sort of like, I don't know. It just felt weird. Like, and I don't know. Maybe this is just on me, and I've obviously gotten shit on it for Twitter, but I just thought it was a very weird thing to come from the mouth of an international terrorist. Like, you're trying to endear us to this character, and you're gonna like get it. You're gonna have him like tell Sam about like these things and lecture him on like, I guess what it means to be black in America or how like the Americans are perceived by Europeans. I don't know. Like I understand why they did it and I think it works. And it's not like what he's saying is wrong, but it also is just like really strange. Everything about that interaction was just strange to me. And there's a few other moments like that throughout the episode where there's just like weird exchanges, almost like they're trying too hard, which is ultimately how I think a lot of this stuff sort of like comes across is it just the buddy cop banter does not work for me at all in the show. And then also going back to what Chris was saying about like Sam seeing Zemo and like saying what are you doing here? Like that's a great example of like how Sam was treated in this episode. He was just completely aloof. And like I understand if you want to have a Bucky centric episode, that's fine because it is called Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But like don't make Sam like this just I don't want to say a bumbling idiot, but he's just like they put him in a sidekick position in this episode, and that's what he's been his entire existence in the MCU. So why would you relegate him to that? Like it is a joint show. Give him like don't make him like clueless as to what's going on. That kind of I struggled with that a little bit. So
that is an interesting point because it is I mean Sam even says it later in the episode. He literally says, "All right, guys, I know Sam Wilson isn't as for the art scene or whatever that he didn't know that she had the real art." So they alluded to it that Sam is definitely he's green to this world. This is literally this would be like Captain America, Steve Rogers breaking Zemo out of jail. He would not be okay with that. But Sam just kind of went along with this because he's obviously trying to figure this out. But it was kind of weird seeing what we assumed to be our Captain America playing kind of the back seat. Again, he's taking the back seat of decisions being made, like breaking a #1 terrorist in the world out of jail.
Yeah.
So there are some things to question about Sam, and hopefully with 3 episodes left, they'll explore the psyche of him doing these things that might go against the grain of what we would imagine Captain America not to do certain things like that. But it was very interesting. And it also, I don't know if this has anything to do with anything as far as rewrites, but I don't know if you guys knew, but yesterday was Marvin Gaye's birthday. So I don't know if that was like literally an homage or paying hat to that. They was like, hey, we could throw that in. Again, I don't know. I mean, why it's his birthday. It was April 2nd. It was Marvin Gaye's birthday. So I don't know if that had anything
to do with
Stan
Lee now? Like, it's Marvin Gaye. Like,
I don't.
Yeah, what the hell are we doing?
I don't know if it's a coincidence or if they were like, you know what?
Oh God.
Tilted the hat. Let's throw a Marvin Gaye joke in. It is a great song. Marvin Gaye is one of my favorite artists. My grandmother used to listen to that Marvin Gaye all the time growing up. So I love Marvin Gaye. But yeah, the joke was maybe not necessary. Even though again, I'm a Winter Soldier fan. I love Winter Soldier all back.
Yeah. Well, and I think another thing was it just sort of like went on a little too long. It was like, I get the point. Like, Bucky likes 40s music, obviously. But I think there's like another issue here, just in terms of like Marvel and how they deal with like how the characters like do things. Like okay, so yeah, they break out of the prison, they go to Madripoor, and they do all these things, and it ends up worsening the situation, right? And I think there are several moments in the MCU where like the characters do something, it worsens the situation, and then they have this like come to Jesus moment where they realize, oh, what we're doing is bad, but then like going forward, they still end up like carrying through with the same pattern of just like mistakes. And I feel like this is an example of them sort of doing that, especially with like the stuff, again, going back to the stuff with Bucky. And they just never really, I guess they never really just like move forward in a sense. Like it's strange to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm
I think you're onto something, man. And I would love to see, again, seeing that Bucky was arrested last week, and obviously Captain America got him out of jail. But during, seeing Winter Soldier in Madripoor, which we'll talk about here in a second, I wonder if there's either ramifications of him going to Madripoor, because there were people using their cell phones, and if people are tweeting out Winter Soldier's back and kicking ass and doing all, broken someone out of jail, I wonder if there will be ramifications of their actions. I hope there is, some kind of breaking someone out of jail is not an easy defense. Even if they do save the world and the Winter Soldier program or the serum is done, there has to be some type of consequences for their actions. So we'll see what comes of that. But this is a cool moment. This was, the MCU kind of world building. We've never been to this place before. This is something that it is in the comics. It has a lot of ties to X-Men, and there's a lot of theories out there. We're not going to jump into it like we did WandaVision, but hey, Madripoor is a very predominantly known area for X-Men characters. Steve has his runs in with this area as well, but I'm not going to lie. I thought the city looked great. Again, if they were to do a spinoff with Zemo, I would love for him to tackle the undergrounds, or I don't know, Sharon Carter, if she comes out next episode and really blows it off the roof, have her have a spinoff series. Like, what was it for 5 years of her becoming the person that she is in this town? So I thought that was a pretty cool way to introduce us to this world, and I would love to explore it more. But we got our guys, we get our mission. Sam is going to be playing the smiling tiger, and I don't know if you guys, was that Anthony Mackie in that picture? Is it just me, or was that another actor that looked just like Anthony Mackie, the guy in the phone? Like, I don't know if that was just like,
I think it was someone else.
Yeah, I thought it was him too. Yeah, it looked just like him, and with the we'll see. He has one out there, but they're going clubbing, ladies and gentlemen. We see they have this whole setup, and Sam, man, he was rocking the suit, man. Even though he said he felt like he was a pimp, he was swagged out, man. And I love the kind of the banter. And I don't know how you guys felt about the joke with him drinking the guts of the snake. I thought that was Anthony Mackie, like improv that in regards to like, the awkward picture of like drinking that. Insides there, and I would love, Chris, did you get a good laugh out of Anthony Mackie in that moment, man? Did Papa Doc get you a good laugh in that moment?
No, of course. He can never get me to laugh.
Oh my God.
He's always good, man. Chris
You're
will always see him
me.
as Clarence. He's only Clarence to him, man. But before we get to Shelby, we do see, and I know Amanda, you're probably right here with me, and probably the whole panel. I love the Winter Soldier, the movie, but also the character in Winter Soldier, and seeing him back. And that Henry Jackman score, the Winter Soldier, is one of my favorite scores. And hearing that kick in, I know there's maybe some conflict of like him resorting back to his old life. But listen, I said it last week. I'm not a fan of like timid Bucky and not fighting, not using that Wakanda arm. So seeing him actually kick ass this episode and go back to the Winter Soldier, even if it goes against the grain of his therapy sessions and all that, I loved it because I just thought it was so cool seeing Winter Soldier back. But tossing it to you first, Amanda, what was your take on Madripoor? And then just, you know, if you want to see more of that city, and also your take on the trio going into this club as their aliases as Winter Soldier, Zemo, Smiling Tiger.
I thought the city was beautiful. Like that shot coming off of the water, and then you saw it. It was like stunning. It really was. This trio again, it's a fun dynamic for me. I just want to give a shout out to the wardrobe department because everyone looked fantastic. So I was very happy about that. They killed it with the costumes in this episode. Absolutely killed it. But again, Sam is getting sidelined in this episode, and we did touch upon it before. And this is very Bucky centric. I don't mind it, but at the same time, like they really gave nothing to Sam. Like there was nothing for him to really do, and that bothered me because the first 2 episodes were very Sam heavy, and that's what made me love it. And then you come to this one, not that I hate Bucky, that's not what I'm saying. It's just the fact that like there needs to be some sort of consistency. So if it's a Sam-centric series, then you have to kind of balance it in that way. And then this was just kind of a misstep for me. But again, like Elliot, you said, I love seeing the Winter Soldier. What's the point of him having that arm if he's not going to use it?
Yeah.
Like, just use it. You know what I mean? It was cool to see him like that. But I think that Bucky's struggling with his own identity, as we've seen in these 3 episodes. So he also has some pent up anger from the therapy, because she's also kind of controlling him. Yeah, she's giving him like advice in how to help him through this and kind of, you know, get a balance in his own mind of who he is. But he's also kind of like antsy. So I do understand that he needs to let this anger out. And this was kind of the way to do it. Is it the right way? Not necessarily. But like if he didn't learn anything from therapy, he would have killed like Zemo in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So, you know, so he is learning something. He's choosing his battles. And I think that him becoming the Winter Soldier again, in a way could help him mentally. I don't know if you're going to look at it that way, but I didn't mind it. I like seeing him in action. He's fantastic. And you know, Sam with the drink, I was dying because like that was Mackie. That was not Sam Wilson. Okay, that was Mackie. So I was just so happy about that. It was like really cute. So I didn't mind.
And something to be said to it, man, and what you brought up with Bucky, even him going back to the Winter Soldier, that wasn't full Winter Soldier. He probably would have literally, like you said, he would have killed those men, right? Yeah. He obviously they're probably got some broken bones and some bloody noses, but Winter Soldier would have annihilated them, probably snapped some necks, pulled, shot him in the face. But he just played the role, but not going to the full extent, right? He didn't go full Daniel Day-Lewis and go back to the Winter Soldier moments. But Chris, your take on this club moment, them going under the secret identity, and just the whole kind of almost Bad Boys vibe to it, of them going undercover to find out this information about Shelby.
Yeah, going back to my man Zemo, like I hated the fact that Sam said that he looked like a pimp, because like we don't even talk like that anymore. Like, I don't even last time we don't say that
it's
anymore.
Like it's so high school.
Yeah, it was.
So then like he uttered the words, and I was like grunting, and then Zemo jumped in. He's like, only an American would say that something is fat. Like, and I was like, yes, that's exactly right. Thank you. But the best part, my favorite part of this episode was the Winter Soldier scene right here in this club scene. I thought, I was like, damn, this is exactly what the doctor ordered. Well, the irony of that statement, actually. But I was like, well, I guess my doctor. I was like, this is what I needed. I thought it was dope. And like, then Sam, I respected the drink scene. I was like, that's a creative idea. It's cool. Like I was involved. I was invested. Everything was good with that. And then his fucking ringtone. But I don't know if we're there yet. Can we talk about like a bumbling idiot? Like these are things that we're talking about. Like, you're an Avenger, my guy. Like,
I don't even know why his phone. I mean, I don't even know why his personal cell phone would be on him on a mission with other assassins. Again, that's a nitpicking thing, but I don't even know why his phone was with him. In this
let's think about let's think about like what time zone are we in for you? Like, now I gotta talk to you about Cheerios, and then like I'm here in this mission. True. Like, so it's like I was like, oh man, like I was like, Sam talking about a pimp, and then I was like, oh man, Winter Soldier, and then it's like, oh, my phone is ringing now, and I'm
And that is and again, we've all seen our fair share of like action movies. That is such an action movie thing to do, as the cell phone goes off in the middle of a tense moment. And again, it's MCU. We know that they love cut to tension. We got it last week. We've got it in almost every major MCU films in the last few years. They love to kind of cut to tension to kind of acknowledge that they're in an action moment. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But Griff, man, your take on these three out, looking for Shelby and the whole sequence with the snake, and obviously Winter Soldier coming back in action.
Yeah, the snake was fine. Like that was like typical Mackie stuff, and like it was like kind of funny. The stuff with Bucky going full Winter Soldier again just sort of is again like what I was saying with Bucky this whole episode. He just sort of acts unilaterally, and like he doesn't really like there's no consequences to his actions or stuff like that, and it just feels weird. Going back to what Chris said, like Sam is just walking around this like a sidekick, and it's awful. It's really frustrating to watch, because even when like what Amanda was saying, even when Bucky was like less of the focus in those first two episodes, he still was given some excellent moments. And like Sam, I think Sam has like one of those at the end of this when he's talking about the shield. And
on the plane.
The rest of it, he's just sort of like clueless, and it's like what is going on here? This is so strange. Also, in regards to the pimp line, I genuinely don't think that Sam would have even said something like that. So just the fact that was even like there are several things that I struggle with that, but it's just like I don't like. Again, what is that? Like, what era are we living in right now? That sounds like
and like, did you get dressed in the street? Like, you didn't put your clothes on in the street. Like,
and then been wearing that comment. Yeah,
been wearing it the whole time.
Yeah, that was just another just like really weird exchange. Like, what is going on with this? So yeah, that whole like the Madripoor stuff, I really like the world building and like just seeing this underground sort of like Mos Eisley, but in like the Marvel universe. Like that was all cool. You could definitely tell that was Kolsted's work and his hand involved in that. But yeah, man, I don't know. It's just sort of like as this stuff sort of continues and these interactions like keep going, I'm just like I'm getting more and more frustrated with like how they're handling certain aspects of it. Because it just feels like they're paying lip service to the issues that they want to discuss, but they're not like going past like just like bringing them up. They're not really like going into them, I guess. I will say in the second episode they did, but like outside of that and the Isaiah Bradley stuff, it was I don't know. But anyways, that's
And it's interesting you brought up too, again, knowing that the writer was Derek Kolstad, and definitely John Wick vibes and all that stuff. But I wonder too, and I think Malcolm Spellman will be writing the rest of this, the back half of the show, as he wrote the first two episodes, if I'm not mistaken. It goes to show when you have a new writer that comes into the mix, they don't have that same through line, that same connective tissue. And I think that shows with Sam's character. I think he suffered the most from having a new writer, not bringing in the racial card, but having a white writer bring in like a joke of the Marvin Gaye and the pimp thing. Again, not playing the race card, but it could be a disconnect in regards to how they threw that into the mix and how Malcolm Spellman might have handled those jokes. Again, like the joke I think of last week, the Black Falcon. Oh, do I call you the Black Kid? Things like that. Versus, again, you look like a pimp. You know, the Marvin Gaye. So it could be, again, I think Derek Kolstad, I think he's a great writer, but sometimes when you're thrown into a show, kind of just one off, it might not always connect to the previous episodes or connect to the characters from the head writer of the show. So we'll see what comes of the writing department for the rest of the three. I think once Malcolm gets his hand back on the script, it'll get back to the first two episodes that we saw in this show. But only time will tell. But we get a big character that makes a return. Before we go to that, we meet Shelby, which that character kind of came and went. I don't know if she was killed, and we'll talk about who killed her. But we get the moment of them making the exchange. Chris already alluded to it. We get the phone call to break the tension in the room, to kind of break that, kind of reminded me of like a Rush Hour moment or something, and Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan. But we see Sarah's calls, and I'm not going to lie, even though the joke didn't logically speaking, that Chris brought up, why would you have your phone on you? That was kind of funny seeing Anthony Mackie like pretending to be the smiling tiger and being like, yeah, I'm gonna kill that banker. Oh, all the money I laundered, like playing into the idea that he's this crime lord. It was I got a good laugh out of that. I'm not gonna lie.
Same.
But the biggest moment out of this sequence was the return of Sharon Carter, and we'll talk about it. I know Griff and we said a little bit earlier in regards to the playing against the character, but she is different. She's hardened, man. She's taken the fall for the Avengers, and this is I feel for her. I'm not gonna lie, because she was on the run for 2 years. Sam even mentions, I haven't spoken to you in a while. She was kind of forgotten about. So I wouldn't say I would go full villain and go to Madripoor and have this underground, circuit of art thievery, but I can understand where Sharon's coming from. And she says, heroes are this BS you guys are playing into. I was kind of digging this more edgier side of Sharon, and also just knowing that when we were first introduced to her, she was playing up her side. She was playing the nurse across the room and not knowing that she was a sword agent. And obviously, Hydra, not Hydra, but SHIELD during that time. But your take, Amanda, on the reintroduction of this new version of Sharon Carter.
I know that she's a woman in the show, but I just don't care. I'm sorry. I've never been on board with Sharon Carter. I don't know what it is. Maybe because it was such a small role in the Winter Soldier. And I always say, I do think that if she kind of took on the Black Widow role in the Winter Soldier, then I would have cared a bit more for her character development wise. So lodging her in here, I don't trust her. Did you see her later on in the episode getting in that car? I do not trust her whatsoever. So she seems sketchy. She did kick some major butt in this episode. I was really happy. I'm so sorry, Tessa. Please, I'm sorry. But she kicked major ass. The hand-to-hand combat, wicked. I'm not going to say that wasn't cool. I don't, there's something there. I just don't care. But I hope, we see what happens. Maybe she'll surprise me and be like, okay, she's cool now. But there's just something that I can't connect with.
Yeah, there's again, I wasn't the biggest Captain America comic book reader growing up, but like you mentioned, I think there is a run where Sharon, I think she was involved in Steve's assassination, if I'm not mistaken. Before, obviously when Falcon and Bucky took up the shield. So I think, again, going back to trusting her, I think, again, for those comic book readers of Captain America, I think she was heavily involved in his assassination. But either way, tossing it to you, Chris. We get Mrs. Carter back, and she's a little bit harder. She's different, man. She's semi-anti-hero-ish character. Your thoughts on her return, man? And she literally killed someone in cold blood in regards to killing Shelby. She's a killer.
I kind of didn't care that I would see her in this show, because I didn't like Amanda said, I didn't really have a connection to her in the other past. I don't know whether she's good or bad. I'm leaning towards good, but I still think it's weird that she's complaining about how she was on the run for 2 years, but you're a fucking millionaire in this goon ass city. You're managing the original art, and things look like they're going okay for you.
Exactly.
You miss your family, fly them into that shithole. I don't know what do you I don't know what you want me to feel sorry for you. You're she's pouring champagne, this is the life I have to live now. What are you saying?
You poor soul.
Yeah, exactly. The freaking Isaiah's seriously.
Right.
Yeah. My other problem with her is in the next scene, so I'll wait to talk about that. But that's where I'm at with her. We'll see.
Tossing it to you, Griff. We see her come into action, and this is so funny. We talked about when we got the reunion of Sam and Bucky that it wasn't tropey in regards to the first time they're meeting each other in the show is them in this battle sequence. But I was happy they didn't do that. It was just kind of a little bit more of a quieter moment, but they do the opposite of that with Sharon. She has to be brought in a very badass way and being the friend in in the city. But your take on Mrs. Sharon Carter, man?
Oh, I didn't like it at all. Again, I really don't mean to be this negative voice on the panel here.
Not at all, man. I love this. This is the stuff that I love, man. The conversation we have.
The moment that we meet her, we know that her existence in the series is solely to propel the plot forward. There is no characterization here. She basically exposits a Wikipedia page on what she's been up to for the past 5 years or so. And like, I sympathize with her. Like she's been screwed over by the Avengers, and so I can understand her being a little bit more rough around the edges. Taking on a more anti-hero persona. But in the show, it's just like she's kind of insufferable. Like she is a miserable person, and that's like what Bucky even says.
He says,
I kind of like she's kind of awful now, and I agree. Like she is kind of awful. And like I hate saying that because I loved her in the previous Cap movies. I thought she was horribly underused, but like I really enjoyed just like who she was and like Steve's interactions with her and stuff like that. But like, and look, I get it. Like she has the right to be a little bitter about stuff that's going on and like how her life's been ruined. But like she feels so far removed from the character she was in Captain America: Civil War. To the point where it's like I don't even know who this person is, and it's just it's pointless. It's so bad.
It's a great point you bring up there. I'll play devil's advocate in regards to Sharon Karli. Like I said, and you mentioned it too, with that 5-year gap, and I think this is for Sam's character in regards to seeing this, and maybe they'll allude to this. Last week he saw Isaiah Bradley, and how the government dismantled him, forgot about him, and he was a hero at one point. But then obviously we know what happens. Same could be said about Sharon, right? She was she helped the Avengers, she helped Steve, and now she's forgotten about, kind of thrown away. So I wonder if Sam's going to kind of see this and be like, you know what? Yet again, and she says, and we'll talk about the scene here before we get to it. We do have a Karli scene, but you believe in all this BS, this propaganda, the shield, the being a superhero. So I can kind of see where that character is coming from in regards to how she was on the run, how she's been forgotten, how she has to live this this lifestyle. As Chris brings up, she's in the slums, man. The champagne's not that good. The clothes are not fitting perfectly. So, she definitely has a hard life out there. But I can kind of see what the show is using her character, as you mentioned, bringing her into like the opposite of like a hero, the opposite of supporting the government. So we'll see if there's more of her character and what she's been up to and all that. But it was a little bit kind of like on the nose in her regards to the return. But
well, and that I don't know how you guys felt, but the scene where they were talking about like what she does in the art, the way that they just sort of like talked down to Sam was like again like another just like awful instance of like them making Sam useless. Like she's talking about, they never put fakes in the in the museums.
In the museums,
and then like Bucky sort of like has to like look to Sam and say like, oh yeah, so this is what happens. And it just felt like it's like Sam's not an idiot. Like what are we doing here?
But also, how does Bucky even know like Google and all that stuff? Like what are you even talking about? Like,
hey, it's the lifestyle of the Winter Soldier, man. Maybe he remembers this underground villainous ways, and to a point, I mean, Sam, he is green. Like I said, he is all green to this. He doesn't deal with the underbelly. This is the first time he's going to, which again, I don't know. The writing was so coincidental, the Marvin Gaye birthday, but also Sam says you guys talk about Madripoor like a Skull Island, and literally Kong versus Godzilla came out.
Yes,
coincidence how the stuff works out. But as I digress, we get a moment here, which let's just talk about it. The Flag Smashers. I don't know, man. Karli Morgenthau, the actress Erin Kellyman. I think she's a great actress. I mean, hell, her career has been Star Wars. Now you go into Marvel. Her agent, Michael Fassbender, needs to hire her agent because she has some really good gigs. But guys, we see this woman die who I don't think was her biological mother, but I think it was like a mother that took care of her and took care of the people that were misplaced. It's supposed to make us care, it's supposed to humanize this character, but I just don't care. Amanda, what's your take on this moment? Did it hit you in the feels, or were you just like, can we go to the next scene, please?
Did it hit me in the feels? Like, there's no build up with like nothing. I feel nothing for these Flag Smashers. Nada. It sucks. And like, we're talking about Sam's writing. All of the writing for this, like all the time that you spent writing for the Flag Smashers could have gone to Sam. Just saying, like it made his like arc in this episode a bit different and better. Like I don't care. This didn't do anything, and like Tessa. But yeah, like nothing. I have nothing to add for this. I was bored. I couldn't do it.
Chris, did you tear up, man? Did you have to have some box of tissues when you saw that moment of? And again, I get what the show's doing with that character and the flag smash and what they represent and being forgotten about, and it works to a certain extent. But whenever we cut to them, man, especially in this moment, I'm just like last week, the guy dies to protect the flag smashers from the power brokers men, and I'm just like, I don't even know who that guy is. He doesn't even have a name for me to even care about that character. And we meet, I don't remember the mother's name, but how did you feel about this scene, man? Were you just like, damn, Karli, I know where you're coming from. You're just like, damn, Karli, I don't care where you're coming from.
No, I didn't care. I was probably, and I don't know if it passed already. I was too busy complaining about Sharon because Sharon tells them, you know, like, I don't do charity. They're like, we'll clear your name, and if you give us information. And then she's like, I don't do charity. And then he's like, how about we make a deal? I'll clear your name if you give us information. And then she's like, deal. And I'm like, wait a minute. They said the same thing. I'm like, nothing changed in what they were offering. So I was probably still worrying about that. I didn't care about this Karli scene. I cared more about like her talking about how I wanted to be a teacher. That was more impactful for me later in the episode. But and then they backtrack all that. But this scene, I didn't care about. I yield my time.
Griff, man, the Karli Morgenthau and her backstory and losing her surrogate mom of sorts. Your take on that scene, man?
I like the scene in theory. In execution, it just feels like an afterthought, so it doesn't really work for me. But I do like the attempts to humanize this group and like further explore them a little bit. It's just so underdeveloped that it eventually leads to what happens towards the end of this episode, where they just completely undo all of it, so it doesn't matter in the first place. It's just, oh no, they're the bad guys with good intentions, and I'm like, well, that's not really how they were established from the get-go. So the wishy-washiness of the Flag Smashers is by far the weakest part of this entire series, and it's really poorly handled. And I mean, I don't know, they still have half a season to sort of like win us over, but like for right now with where the Flag Smashers stand and with like Karli blowing up a building of innocent people, it's like, well, no, you've clearly picked a lane, and you've picked the direction of them being the villains, which is so against what you told us for the past like 2 episodes. So it doesn't it just like I don't believe that Karli would actually do something like that. Maybe like blow up a building with no people in it. That's making a statement and still keeping her humanity. But now you just like said no. These revolutionaries, these revolutionaries are bad. Like okay, all right.
Yeah, again, like Griffin said, we do have 3 episodes left, but it's not, Falcon, Winter Soldier, and Karli Morgenthau show. So I don't know how much more efforts they're going to put into this character. If, again, maybe this is, which Marvel loves to do, it's a setup. Maybe we won't even get a full arc for that character because she's going to be maybe tied into another show later on, which is unfortunate because right now I think the way they're handling the Flag Smashers have been completely underwhelming. But like Chris said, there is a moment that we'll get to a little bit later when she is talking to her friend, which again, no one has any names in this group. I don't know why they don't like give us more to make us care for these characters. But when she's talking to that guy, which we'll talk about, that was a nice moment. It was, because it's just like what life could have been or what life was during the blip. But now all that's kind of changed and this, that, and the third. But yeah, the Flag Smashers, man, I don't know. They're just not. They're not working for me, guys. But we do have a super chat from our one of our friends of the channel who's been on the panel before and has some great coverage and has a great YouTube and TikTok and all that fun stuff. Michael, he has, how is Sam going to get Sharon pardoned when my man's can't even get a bank loan? You don't have any pool. That is very true, Michael.
Yeah,
again,
but Sharon doesn't know that.
He does not know.
So she's gonna shoot him or something then? Like
I don't know. Yeah, man. I don't know what Sam can do. I think he thinks once I complete this mission, I'll be back in the great goods of the government and they'll, I can make demands. But yeah, I don't know that. I don't know, Sam. Broken promises there, man. Did you guys have any take on Sam's mission, how he's going to get this accomplished?
I haven't even thought of it. To be honest, I don't know how it's like
he can get alone, but he can get people pardoned.
Well, maybe he's already accepted the fact that he's going to take back the shield and be Captain America, and so it'll be Captain America pardoning him.
The call, just like John Walker can get people out of jail. I guess, maybe so, maybe. But
I mean, like,
go ahead. No, go ahead, Griff. What were you gonna say?
Well, I was just gonna say, obviously, I think when the mission is completed and he's possibly in the good graces of the government, he'll be able to do something. But yeah, again, that is just sort of like a weird thing. Why would he do, like, he can't even like help his own family. So why would he make these promises to strangers and stuff like that when it's just like he's been screwed over so many times by the government? It just, again, just sort of like a weird handling of that character.
Very true. Chris, man, you got any advice for Sam here, Anthony Mackie, making broken promises, man?
No, I put it in the chat. Like, he has to ask John Walker for a favor. Like, he's the only dude that has any pull in the show. Or else he's gonna ask, like, Brody to pull some strings. But
right,
like, he's not in the good eyes of the government right now, so he has no like clout.
The great, and to connect that to what you just said, bringing up Brody, that was a line that he did mention in the first episode. Our allies are not enemies, and vice versa. So again, Sharon Carter kind of being thrown in that mix. So we'll see, man. It is really interesting to see Sam tell her that, and he can't even get alone. That's hilarious. But we'll get more into the Flag Smashers, as Griff alluded to. That scene again making us like, okay, now they're fully on the rails. We'll talk about that. But we do see again, we talked about Sharon Carter in regards to where she's at mentally, and again, the face says it all. When she should have made that face when Sam made that offer to her, like, really dancing. But listen, I had to put this in the mix, guys. This is the highlight for me besides Winter Soldier, man. I don't want to make it, I don't want to glance over it. I think it's one of the best moments of the MCU of all time. Is Zemo getting down, man? This is the next series, ladies and gentlemen. This is Zemo going to different clubs, Madripoor, Wakanda, you name it. He's the club hopper. He's the party starter. You're going to learn some dance moves. But what did you guys take from the, and we'll talk about the Zemo dancing, but just take on that scene of Jim just, again, learning the information of this Dr. Nagel that we'll talk about. But I definitely want to highlight Zemo on the dance floor, starting with you, Amanda. We got to cut the tension and jump into some of the comedy with Zemo's dance moves.
Yeah, I mean, especially with Zemo, I just think he's trying to like fit in, and he has other plans for all of them now that he's out of jail, like 100%. So I think he's just trying to get on their good side and say that, like, oh, like I'm gonna be friends with you guys, don't worry about it. And then we get this beautiful dancing scene. But yeah, the writing was. It was all over the place this episode. I think they really focused on Zemo and Bucky a bit more, and even their conversations were kind of weird. And Sharon just, I don't know why she's here. I don't know why. She doesn't fit in with it, I think. It's just weird. It's just so weird. But the dancing, as you said, that was the highlight of the episode, to be perfectly honest. So, yeah.
Chris, man, I know you represent the East Coast, man. I know some good clubs out there, bro. Would you party with Zemo?
I'm gonna tell you straight. I'm supposed to hate this scene, but I didn't hate this dude dancing. None of it makes sense. In real life, he wouldn't be doing this. It doesn't flow with the story. But I was like, the dude's so good. I was like, I'm here for it. I can't believe that I'm even saying it. And I know Brandon, if he's watching, is rolling over his good jokes, but I was 100% okay with it, and I don't know why.
Bro, I was laughing so hard when I saw that. I just want to see a Zemo and a Peter Quill dance off now. I just need to see that on the dance floor. Those two getting down. Griff, man, he takes on the dance moves, bro.
It was funny. Yeah, the second I saw that clip, I was like, "Yep, there we go. That's a new meme. That's a new meme."
Yeah.
It was just like so brief. Like they didn't even like linger on it or draw it out, which I think was a good thing, because they could have easily just like played it for too long, and then it would have been stupid. Yeah. But it was just like the little, that was good. It was good.
I mean, my man's been in jail. He's been branded as the number one assassin in the world. He has to get loose on the dance floor, and he definitely does. But going back into the mission, which now we know where Dr. Nagel is. Sharon Carter gives them the location. We see, which, by the way, I'm not a big fan of. I don't know who that actor is, the guy on the screen now. I didn't like the way he was like this kind of weird. I don't know. He was like a bad actor, in my opinion. But nonetheless, he gives us some good information in this moment. He tells us that once Hydra fell, he worked for the CIA. He was working on the serum. He was looked at as a god. He was blipped for 5 years, which, again, I love the world building of explaining how like detrimental the blip was for every level, heroes, villains, and everyone in between, that he was gone. And then he decided to go to Madripoor to work for the power broker to give him the serum, which I think he did confirm that he made 20 vials of the of the Super Soldier Serum, which, to do the math, Karli and her folks, there are 8 of them, so there mean that there's 12 of those serums still out there. If she has kept them, if she sold them, if she has it with someone else, will be something to explore. But before we get into the explosions and all that, cutting it to you first, Amanda, your take on Dr. Nagel and the information he gave us in regards to what he's been doing to perfect this serum.
He was so creepy. But it was great delivery. Like, he was just creepy. I was just creeped out at like 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, this guy's freaking me out. But again, we got the proper information. It's all convenience. Sharon Carter being in this episode was pure convenience. And that's an issue because she's been around for so long, and then like she led them directly here. I do think that she is connected to the power broker in some way because she's sketchy. So the way that he kind of discussed the serum, and then like it was alarming that he was talking about like test subjects and all of that, and then that clicked in with Sam, and again, like, Sam had nothing to really do in this scene. Like, he could have just said something, he could have acted out something like that he would know and like have a conversation with him. So again, this is all convenience. What Zemo did afterwards, like, obviously you got all the information out of him. It's kind of, what's the point of keeping him around if he's going to do more harm than good? So like, I didn't really care that he killed him. Spoiler, I'm joking. But it was a weird scene. It was all convenience.
Yeah, and I mean, to your point too, with Zemo killing this guy, I think this speaks more to Zemo again. What a in the true nature of an anti-villain or anti-hero, he still has his mission, and he laid out his mission. He knew that this guy made the super serum, and he killed him because we need to take this guy out. But Chris, man, your take on this Dr. Nagel and his experiments, and also too, I think we're assuming that he was referring to Isaiah, but there is, I mean, there are other test subjects out there. I'm thinking of Abomination as one of them. Tim Roth's character, who's going to be coming back in She-Hulk. Who knows? They could have been experimenting on him while he was locked up in that cell in Civil War. So, but I'm safe to assume that he was referring to Isaiah. But cutting it to you, man, your take on this doctor and this super serum that he's created.
Yeah, real quick. Yeah, I think he was definitely talking about Isaiah. I think even they cut to Sam when
he said that.
Bucky, they made a little look. So, and I think the actor probably wasn't that great. I think the scene was cool, as like as far as like learning some some story points that we needed. I don't think I understood when he's like, is there any serum here? And he's like, I won't tell you anything. And then he pulls the gun out and he's like, no, there's not. Like, if there wasn't, then you would have just said no before the gun came out. I don't understand why he did that. But overall, it's I think that what we're supposed to get out of this scene is like a little bit of that background story, and then just like seeing Zemo sneak off and find that gun and just kind of see like, okay, I just seen this dude dancing 5 seconds ago. Like, I'm trusting him. Then now I don't know how to feel. So I think it was just that kind of like back and forth that they were trying to give us.
Yeah. Griff, man, your take on Dr. Nagel and his creation of, he perfected the serum and, created 20 of the serums. And obviously Karli, which I guess I would love a backstory on how she obtained the serum and how she was able to steal it. I think it would be a prized possession of the power broker, but, she was able to get it. And also too, she mentioned that, earlier in the episode about the serum going through their blood and their veins, and it was all that. So I would love to get a little bit of that backstory, but your take on Dr. Nagel.
Yeah, I mean, I think really the whole point of it was sort of just like the Zola scene in Winter Soldier, just to sort of like catch you up on what's been happening in the interim period of time, how like the serum that was used to create Steve has been like warped and utilized and used by other governments and other people and stuff like that, and how it's what it did with Steve hasn't been able to be really replicated, or if it's replicated, the government doesn't deem them to be a worthy fit for a symbol or whatever for whatever reason. So yeah, I think it was just all of that, and then obviously like hinting more at Isaiah really being bearing a lot of like the stuff that went down with this. Because like what Chris said later on, like Sam even has a line talking to Bucky. He's like, they talked about Isaiah as if he wasn't even a person. Right. I like that is interesting. Explore more of that. That's the stuff that is really making the show compelling. So keep in that direction, and how Isaiah was burnt by his government for the color of his skin, and then how Sam is going to sort of rectify that, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's and again, it's really interesting. Again, the world building they say within that scene of how he came about it and how they kind of recreated it, and again, just the world building. And again, I love that they explain that he's been gone for 5 years and kind of where he's at. And we'll talk about the power broker and him hiring him as his kind of scientist, mad scientist of a sorts. But kind of. Again, going back to a critical scene that you guys had mentioned a little bit earlier, we get Sam and Bucky on the plane, which there's a lot of good dialogue. This was, again, the quieter moments that felt more like episode 1 and 2 when Sam and Bucky are discussing, maybe I should have destroyed the shield. As Bucky says, that shield stands for so much. It saves so many lives, his life being one of them. But, and we talked about it yesterday, Griffin, in regards to Bucky does say, I'll just take the shield. And they kind of leave it at that, again, alluding to, I don't know if Bucky's going to go rogue and ultimately try to do his thing with the shield and obviously maybe know that he did the wrong thing. But just that a moment for you, Amanda, having that conversation between the two in regards to still getting that continuation of Sam dealing with the legacy of not taking on the mantle of Captain America.
I mean, it's kind of like it stings when he says, like, I should have just destroyed it or something like that. You're like, oh, damn. And like Bucky has way more of a connection to that shield than anyone on this show. Right. So I get that they're struggling with the discussion. I get it. But again, those like real intimate moments, those emotional moments that they share, it's still not enough to place like a couple of lines of dialogue scattered throughout the season. I think like I would have just preferred maybe like one solid conversation. Yeah. Back and forth. Let's really dive into this. Let's discuss it, then have it like scattered, because then like it's even the placement in the episode, like it from like episode 2 and like 3, there it's placed differently. And then it doesn't really work in like the episode as a whole sometimes. Yeah. So I just think that it's misplaced. But it's necessary to push it forward and like kind of remind people that the shield is still out there and that we have to go get it. But yeah, I really do think Bucky's just going to wake up and be like, I'm going to go today and I'm going to go take it. I don't care. I can probably do it myself. So I wouldn't be surprised if he does that in the next episode without even talking to Sam about it, to be honest.
I mean, to Griff's point earlier about Bucky just making these rash decisions without really kind of thinking it through, that might be something that he does next week, which, by the way, I forgot to kind of glaze over. We get the action set piece of the week of them fighting the bounty hunters that are out for their head, and we get the call back to them with the, move your seat and all that stuff. But going back into the more, like I said, I think the more meatier part of the next scene was them talking about everything with the shield. So Chris, and it's also interesting too that they always seem to have these conversations after a mission. I think again it shows that Bucky's like, we can use the shield, we need the shield. We saw that last week with the truck fight, and they had the conversation on the plane, and now we get another conversation on the plane. So just your take, Chris, on do you still feel like Sam is in the right mindset of not taking on the mantle, or at this point we need another Captain America, man?
Yeah, and I guess really quick on the action scene, I mean, I guess I was kind of surprised, like Sharon was kicking ass like that well. I don't know if I remember her being that good, but
Civil War, she took on Winter Soldier. Her and Natasha kind of went hand up. With
So it was good to, I guess, I get that call back. And then I guess I thought about the shield. I was like, destroying it, like that's not the answer here. I don't know why he suggested that. But I think he just has that like, damn, like I fucked up. Every episode he's gonna have one of those moments. Like it's like Bucky has so many I told you so moments of like why you should have just kept the shield. So it's like it's just like piling on at this point. I don't know how you destroy vibranium anyway, but I guess Sam knows.
I would say he knows how to get people pardoned. He knows how to destroy the shield, and he knows some things that we don't know. But Griff, man, your take on that kind of emotional scene, not emotional, but that kind of moment between the two characters, and again, just going back to the idea of why Sam doesn't need the shield, how Bucky feels about the shield.
Oh, wait, did you say me?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were asking Chris again. Sorry. That was definitely like the highlight of the episode, that sort of exchange. But it does sort of feel like they're sort of just like going in circles a little bit. Like they've had this conversation like 3 other times, and it's like it's not progressing. It's just sort of repeating the same points. So it's not really working for me, I guess, even though it is like interesting to hear them talk about that, and Sam like acknowledging, okay, maybe I messed up, or maybe it should be destroyed and stuff like that. Like it does sort of like show the mindset he's in, and then like sort of how Bucky is viewing it as like, no, this is something that can uplift people if used in the right way. You know, it doesn't have to be this nationalist symbol. It can stand for something more. Sort of like, yeah, I guess you know, Alfred talking to Bruce Wayne a little bit there about like the symbol of the Batman, and what, or I guess Bruce talking to Alfred, you know, something like that. But yeah, I don't know if that necessarily, like we were talking about yesterday, I thought for a second, okay, maybe are they hinting at maybe Bucky, you know, taking the shield and then Sam being Captain America but not having the shield, something like that. I don't know if they would go that direction, and I feel like if they made Bucky Captain America, that would burn Sam so bad, just like as everything that they've sort of been trying to explore with him as a character. So yeah, I don't know. It might just, I mean, we'll see. And Elliot, you brought up a good point yesterday about like Bucky acknowledging that like Steve gave the shield to Sam, and so like that's who it should be with. And so it would be really weird for him to sort of like take the shield at this point. So I'm really kind of curious how they sort of like wrap up that whole thing. You know, I assume that it's gonna conclude with Isaiah having a conversation with Sam, and then that's gonna be the come to Jesus moment.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I hope so. But yeah, I don't know. Like if they're gonna have more of these conversations, I just want it to go somewhere.
For sure. Yeah. I'm totally right there with you, man. And I think even if Bucky were to take the shield next week or episode 5, and we'll see, you know, the why he took the shield, maybe John Walker does something really bad and warns for Bucky to take the shield. But I think, unfortunately, with the marketing and in the trailers, we see that Sam ultimately does get the shield. We saw him training with it. It could be a flashback that some people alluded to, but I think it's safe to say that might be one of the final scenes of episode 6 of him training, taking on the shield eventually. We'll see. We know Marvel loves to dupe us with their trailers, but yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what comes of that shield and how Sam ultimately does get the shield back from John Walker. But before we go into our next part here and wrap up the breakdown, quick shout out to Ashley with the super chat, saying a great discussion. Thank you so much, Ashley, for super chat, and also thank you for tuning in, as well as everyone in the chat. Appreciate the great comments and having a great discussion, guys. So make sure you continue to leave your thoughts in the comments. We'll try to address them as much as we can, as well as like the video, share the video, and again, appreciate you guys being here with us on this Saturday. So there was a scene that we kind of touched on a little bit, but just to kind of, any other thoughts on this scene where we see this was maybe one of the more impactful scenes from Karli to me than anything in the show. Like you said earlier, Chris, when she sits down with that guy and says, I want to be a teacher, I want to be a professor. That to me worked more so than anything that she's done or said. And it's not the actress, by no means am I referring to the acting, it's just the writing of the character. But I like that moment, as well as the guy talking about how his life could have been different and he wanted to go to the military, but obviously things changed. So, and also I don't have a clip of the moment or a screenshot of it, but we do see it almost takes away that moment because we see Karli taking the Flag Smashers, taking on this group of people that just have resources that they're not using to their disposal. Then she kills the men that are tied up, which to me felt forced. Like, you guys are now supposed to feel that she's a villain of the show, or one of the villains, or this is a circumstance of what the government did that she's now becoming this villain. So all that kind of wrapped up in a bow. Amanda, your take on Karli the professor versus Karli now the murderer.
It's too late for me to care. Like, they could write her like doing anything at this point. I'm just not going to care about it. This should have been like established in the first episode where we kind of get that 100%. Emotional connection with her, and then maybe build off of that. Like, you're 3 episodes in and now you want me to care about her? Like, that just doesn't make any sense to me. So again, like I say this all the time, and like I would have preferred this series to be a 2-hour film because there's so many ways that you can flesh out these characters in a 2-hour film, and they're not doing it in a 6-episode like television series. So you could have reduced the Flag Smashers. You could have had more of Isaiah Bradley in a 2-hour like film with like Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes and then John Walker. Like, you could have had so much more in a 2-hour film than a 6-episode series. I'm not saying that I don't like the series. That's not what I'm saying. I'm very happy with what we're getting, but I do think this would have worked better as a freaking movie. Like, I just think it something that Mackie deserves as well. And it's a misstep for me that they're not really fleshing out these conversations and these characters properly at this point.
That's an interesting point you bring up. You would think that in a television series, and I think, unfortunately, with a show like this, that's characters like Karli and the Flag Smashers, maybe even Isaiah Bradley of a sorts. We don't know. There's still 3 episodes left, but it feels so far like they don't know kind of how to kind of pass the torch from this subplot to the main plot and really kind of flesh out the characters. It seems like a lot of people are getting shortchanged. But again, we still got 3 episodes, so kind of maybe they'll make up for it. But Chris, your take on Karli in that quieter moment. And did you feel like it was maybe undercut by the show? I don't want to say forcing their hand, but then her making this rash decision of killing these guys that even her, again, these people have no names besides Karli, even her friend wasn't down with that decision of her killing those people. But your take on Karli and her decision now being the quote unquote villain that the world think that she is.
Yeah, I was always team Karli. It's harder now knowing what I know.
Yeah,
I'm gonna act like it didn't happen, but I was all the way. I was cool with the teacher's speech, and then she went and just reneged on all of that with the whole, like, that's the only way that they understand. I'm like, she wouldn't do that. The way they're building her up, she wouldn't do that in real life. So, I mean, we'll see how they, what they want us to do, but I still don't see her as like a big bad or this villain that would be blowing up innocent people.
Yeah,
just to make a point. So I mean, I'm interested to see where they take her.
Yeah.
If they're not going to name anyone else, they're going to give her a name for a reason. So, like, let's see where they take her.
I totally agree with you. And again, I think you mentioned it too, Griff, and you can elaborate on it in regards to, you talked about it earlier, maybe just blow up the building and maybe accidentally there were people in the building to maybe still make us feel like she's not a full-on villain. She made a rash decision and really didn't think of the consequences, but she knew what she was doing, So your take on that moment, well, first the moment of her being a little bit more humanized and what her plans and goals and aspirations were, then going into her killing those guys.
Yeah, I love that moment talking about her being a professor. I want more moments like that where we can actually get inside the head of the character. But like even from those moments that we've gotten prior to then, like she doesn't strike me as someone who would do that because that's not what the group is. They're not violent, obviously. And so like now when she blows up the building, like I actually almost feel like it would have been more interesting had she blown up the building with no one inside of it. And then seeing how the government reacts to them, blowing up, like, I guess, personal property or stuff like that, and them getting all like riled up about that. Yeah, exactly. Which is stuff that, like, we're dealing with right now. So I don't know. It feels like a cop out to just paint them as the villains when up until that point they had never killed anyone. They were non-violent. They had like
except for the first episode, they beat the hell out of Torres. But
well, that's true. But they didn't kill him.
They didn't kill him. They did. Yeah.
But like even still, like it was like it is just sort of like this weird thing where like the show continues to paint them as the bad guys, but they don't show us them being the bad guys. Everyone's like, oh, they're the bad guys. Sort of similar to John Walker. Everyone's like, oh, they're the bad guys, and so now they just become the bad guys, and it feels very unearned and out of character.
It reminds me so much of, and again, not to bring up WandaVision, but it reminded me so much of Hayward again, because I'm a defender of what Hayward was supposed to mean for the show, but I thought the execution was poorly done. I'm thinking this is the same through line with Karli. I'm supposed to care for this character and feel like they're doing the right things by her, but it's just what they're ultimately doing, the execution just isn't sticking with this character. And I think you're so right, Amanda. If we can get some type of, I'm not a big flashback fan, but if we can get a flashback to really kind of iron out the details of Karli and her mission and who these other people, how does she come around the Flag Smasher? Is this her cousin? Is that, all that stuff? Again, I think I am to assume that all of the Flag Smashers were part of the kind of the safe haven that she was a part of, and that's how they know each other, but they just haven't explored that aspect of the character. So
well that's their whole their belief system is so like I guess it's kind of like convoluted a little bit because we don't really understand the situation of like all the people who've been blipped back. They've just like they've brought it up here and there, like with Sam at the bank, or like, oh, these Karli and her mom and stuff like that. It just feels so untapped, I guess, really. And I mean, and this isn't the first time that's happened in the MCU. Like a lot of the times when they try to like go after like real world politics and like stuff that's happening, they don't necessarily do a good job because they're almost afraid to like take a side or something, you know? And
yeah, that's a great point.
It's very like middle of the road and just weird.
Yeah, man. We'll see again. I don't want to say that Derek Colston, I think he did a good job of certain elements of this show or this episode in particular, but there were some kind of shortcomings. And I think this episode, again, not to compare it to WandaVision, but I think this is its version of WandaVision episode 4, just kind of not a side mission or side derailing us from the main plot, but this was just kind of like, hey, let's just have this third episode to really kind of, because we'll talk about opening up the world with Madripoor and also Wakanda a little bit later. But I think this episode, when we look back on the show, might be one of those like, it was maybe the weakest, but it did set something up in a way. I'm fingers crossed. We'll see what the rest of episode 4, 5, and 6 does. But wrapping up the discussion, wrapping up this episode, we get the moment. We see, they go to, I can't remember what country they go to, but we see Sam, Bucky, and, Zemo. Sam and goes with Zemo off to the side, and Bucky realizes there's these little beads that have been tracking them. And we get I think the mic drop of the episode. A member of the Dora Milaje, which is so, I don't know why this never dawned on me that Black Panther's world would be attached to it, because literally Black Panther was introduced in Captain America Civil War, as well as this particular character was introduced when she has the moment with Natasha Romanoff, like, if you don't move, I will move you, which is a great line. So Amanda, man, I think I watched you and Leo's reaction. You guys had the same reaction I had. I was really excited to see Black Panthers, and we'll talk about the implications of what this could mean, but just your take on seeing a Dora Milaje bodyguard looking for Zemo.
I freaked out. I was so happy, but it's the fact that like they built the anticipation so incredibly well, and like no one saw this coming. No one saw this coming. So it was such a great surprise. No one was theorizing beforehand that this was like no one was coming in, but like this was such a great surprise. And then like everything, the gears started turning. It's like obviously like if Zemo's out, they would know about it. You know what I mean? And like that's how it's going to tie into it. And then especially that she goes to Bucky, obviously, right? So
White Wolf.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm really excited to see what the second half of the season has in store, especially with her and Wakanda. It'll be interesting.
Chris, man, was that a great moment? Again, I talked about how much I love Henry Jackman's score, but if not number 1, number 2 is Black Panther's score, Ledwood's score, and hearing that Wakandan beat come in, man. What did you take with this scene with Dora Milaje now being in the mix?
No, I mean, I mentioned it in the beginning. That was my favorite part of the episode. I was like, all right, cool. You heard that beat, kind of like an Infinity War when they head over to Wakanda. So you had that kind of like flashback feeling. Yeah. I thought, I mean, for me, all the problems that I have with the episode I mentioned, I was like, oh, at the end, it kind of saved it. It just reminded me of like that Evan Peters moment, but like you knew it was real. So it's like they can't take it back. It's like it's happening. Like it's already there, and we know we're gonna talk about it next week. So. I was all the way hyped about this moment.
It was so great. And I don't know why I just thought of this, but we talked about the shield a lot in this episode. What if they come to give Sam a shield? What if the Wakandans and T'Challa, we'll talk about that, but what if they actually made him a new shield
or if they came to fucking ask him why the fuck they gave away
Probably.
They would just be giving out. Black people just don't give you out. If you give away some shit, like, all right, you gave it away. No. Where's that first one? I didn't gave you one already.
Already gave you one. And you haven't made, especially with Bucky's arm. What the hell has he done with it yet? Nothing. But Griff, man, your take on the Dora Milaje being into the mix, and again, we'll talk about it again because this is a lot to kind of take in. Black Panther, we know the tragedy, and we'll talk about Chadwick Boseman. But just before we get to that, seeing that moment, did you suspect Black Panther's lore to be involved in the show at all?
It's not something that I thought about, but I guess it definitely makes sense given what happened in Civil War and like T'Challa's link to these characters, or not just to T'Challa, but like Wakanda in general. So it was definitely an exciting moment. But then I started thinking about it, and I'm like, are they coming after to kill Zemo? Because then that would completely undo T'Challa's arc in Civil War, which would not be very good. But then I think you and I, Elliot, we were talking yesterday, and you were like, well, maybe they just want to put him back into a prison. So I guess for me, it all depends on how that's handled. If they're trying to kill Zemo, then I don't like it at all, because that's horrible. You just, again, completely destroy T'Challa's growth in Civil War. But if they are coming back to just sort of like reinstate him in a prison, then like, sure, I get that, and I'm sure like the Wakandan technology might be able to assist them on their journey. So I'll be really curious to see what happens there, and then to see if there are other familiar faces from Wakanda that sort of pop up in the next episode or a couple episodes down the road.
Great.
And let's dive into the discussion here about the importance of Black Panther in this show and moving forward. I think what you just brought up, Griff, is really interesting, just to play devil's advocate. If it not necessarily to kill Zemo, but what if this kind of opens the door for Black Panther 2? Like there's a civil war going on in Black Panther, because Dora Milaje doesn't just do things without mission. So who was given that order to go after Zemo? Again, we know Daniel Kaluuya's influence of Black Panther. Who was the king of Wakanda when T'Challa was gone for 5 years? Is that did the Dora Milaje get split into a civil war? So there could be some plots to kind of explore what Black Panther 2 could be about. But Amanda, just tossing to you first. We talked about it yesterday, Griff, but is there a Chadwick Boseman cameo to look forward to, or a hologram, or not addressing him, obviously, rest in peace to Chadwick Boseman, but I mean, this really opens up Pandora's box.
I don't think there will be a cameo. I heard like rumors that he was supposed to be that cameo instead of Ao. So I was just like, oh, okay, maybe like that would have worked out. And then obviously last minute changes. But I don't think that he would make an appearance. I don't think so. But this sets up like the Wakanda show that they're trying to set up as well. So maybe like that has tie-in instead of like the movie. We don't know, but we need some information. It'd be great to get some information about Wakanda and what's happening over there as well. So it'll be interesting. I just don't want this to be like a throwaway. Like if it's a throwaway, I'll be so disappointed, but I just hope that they use it properly. I really do.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised too, and I don't want this, but I would want them to do this before give them more time to work out Black Panther 2. But I won't be surprised if we get an announcement within the next year that they're going to actually do the TV show first and then have a Black Panther 2, because I think that just makes more sense to build that anticipation and kind of maybe explain a little bit more of Wakanda, what's going on with Black Panther. But going to you, Chris, is this your take on more Black Panther characters, Okoye, Nakia, M'Baku, or even Martin Freeman's character getting back into the mix? What's your take on this and what it can mean for not only the show, but, the future of Black Panther?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see more of that stuff, but I just don't. I think we learned our lesson from WandaVision, like not to just expect these big, huge cameos to come into the
Ralph Boner
to Disney Plus TV shows. Somewhere Tessa's crying on the floor laughing. I think it could set. I think this is and it's a huge moment. Like they could have chosen anyone else to be the first person that we've seen. So I took note that that's who they led with. So it's like I don't think it's gonna elevate beyond that. So, but I'm happy that they're even willing to dip their feet into it. It's only 3 more episodes, so it's not a lot of room to work with. But I'm happy that they opened that door for us to travel to.
Yeah, totally agree. Going back to you, Griff, in regards to the implications of what this means of Dora Milaje being in the mix now and again, we talked about it briefly yesterday, but just your thoughts on, again, a T'Challa appearance or Shuri, Letitia Wright, maybe she can come into the mix potentially.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's possible that they could, be incorporated into the show in some capacity. Probably more so Shuri than T'Challa or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, we'll have to wait and see. I do kind of think you're on the right track with saying that this will sort of lead into the Wakanda show that they're gonna do. I don't know if the Wakanda show will set up the movie or if the movie will set up the Wakanda show. I'm probably leaning towards the latter because it feels like it makes more sense for the movie to tee up a show about Wakanda. Right. But then again, it would be interesting just to explore Wakanda in T'Challa's absence and then how that sort of has affected the country as a whole, and then sort of like lead into I don't know, like Black Panther 2, where it's like the Wakandans versus like the Namor and his group of whatever, like that sort of like battle or rivalry there. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know, but I'm interested to see just sort of like how Wakanda is incorporated into this show.
Yeah, 100%, man. Like I said, knowing that this show was written when, Chadwick Boseman was still with us, that I don't know what the plans were for Wakanda to be heavily influenced, or if there were some rewrites and maybe some other characters come into the mix. But yeah, it just gets me excited. I mean, I don't know what to come of, what's next of, a Dora Milaje member being there in, in the mix. So I'm really excited to see where this goes. Again, there is there's so many rumors out there, of course, but there is a rumor that episode 5 is supposed to have some big, again, we know Paul Bettany and then his comments, but I think this show, hopefully they might have learned their lesson. But again, they are selling a show at the end of the day. It is a business, but there is rumor that it's supposed to be some big cameo in episode 5. So we'll see if that is someone in, Wakandan lore, someone else entirely, which brings me to my last point. Again, let's all pull on our theory hats, but Power Broker. This is someone that came up a lot in this episode. We don't know. I believe they said it was a him. I think Zemo says that, I've heard of him and his name, whatever the case may be. So I assume it's a he. But any thoughts, any theories, any predictions on the reveal of who the Power Broker could be? Is it someone that was already in the MCU? Is it a brand new character entirely? Your thoughts on this, Amanda?
I think Sharon's tied to the Power Broker.
Yeah.
Like she's tied because she's shady. And as we saw, but I do think that they wouldn't have titled the episode Power Broker if it wasn't going to be someone coming in. So I hope that it is kind of like a bigger actor that we would know cast as the Power Broker. But yeah, I don't know who else it could be. Maybe it's Zemo. Maybe he's playing us. We don't know, right? So it could be that too. I know someone else, and meanwhile it's him. We have no idea. But I do think that for it to be the title, then it's going to be someone new coming in. Nice surprise, hopefully.
Chris, man, is it Ralph Boner? Has he taken on the persona of the Power Broker? Evan Peters making a return.
No, it is not. And I'm saying no, it's not because I know who it is. I don't know. I hope it's someone that we haven't seen. I don't think it's Sharon or anything like that. But I think that she does have a connection. I think that's where the art and all that kind of her lifestyle kind of ties in. I think that's kind of going to be the connection. But we shall see.
Griff, man, did you have any? I know we talked about it yesterday, but any thoughts on this Power Broker? Importance to this show? Someone even bigger for the MCU?
Yeah, honestly, I don't have any idea. I just hope it's not like someone that we've seen before. I do hope it is like a new character. And obviously Sharon, I assume, is sort of linked to them. But yeah, I do. I just wanted. Just give us someone new, someone interesting that maybe you can introduce here and then incorporate in stuff going forward.
Definitely. We can say it now, man. I think we all don't want to say it, but it's Mephisto, right? Mephisto is the Power Broker. Yeah. We know he's coming to the mix.
Stop this.
I said it yesterday on Griff's video, and I made another video about it. But just to play fun, just to play devil's advocate, just to throw the names out there, Dr. Doom. Could be someone to maybe look forward to. And I just kind of let the cat out of the bag. But my wild theory is this guy that was just on the screen, Keanu Reeves. Now, stick with me. The only reason that I'm kind of having this little bit fun of a theory here is due to the fact that John Wick has so much in the Captain America lore. Chad Kozlowski, the director, second AD of Civil War. We have the writer of this show being the writer of the 3 John Wick films. Keanu Reeves' name has been rumored to be in the MCU for many years. Ghost Rider, Eternals, Kraven the Hunter. I don't think it would happen, but boy, if he is someone attached to the Power Broker in some way, somehow, that would be pretty awesome. But that's just my thoughts. I doubt that any of this will come true. But if it is, Dr. Doom to me would actually make a little bit more sense. Someone that is like a monarch and a leader of sorts to take on this other country. He has his own country in his backyard, and now he wants to take something else. So, and they mentioned that he is the king of Madripoor, whoever this Power Broker is. But we'll see what that reveal is. So, wrapping up the discussion, final thoughts overall, if you guys want to give it a ranking or a score, and again, what your predictions may be for episode 4, which again, supposedly is supposed to be more of a John Walker Battlestar episode.
Why a John Walker Battlestar episode? We only have 6 episodes. I don't want them to be the focus. Come on now. I don't know what's gonna happen next episode. All I want is that Bucky takes the shield for Sam and kind of just brings it home. Maybe if that happens, but I know that episode 5 is going to be very emotional. So the shield's coming back either way. So I guess episode 3 is the weakest. I would probably give it like a 6.5, maybe 7 out of 10. There were still like fun moments, but there was no flow to this. It felt really disjointed, and Sam was out of character, and it just bothers me because first 2 episodes for him were really, really strong. So it was okay. I still enjoyed watching. I watched it 3 times already, so it's like it's fine. But I have no predictions for next episode. I just can't see John Walker for a whole hour. I can't do it. I'm sorry. I can't do it.
Going to be John Walker's #1 fan after next week. He's going to blow our minds, as well as his buddy Lamar, aka Battlestar.
Yeah.
But tossing it to you, Chris, just your overall take on this episode. If you want to give it a score, by all means, and if you have any predictions for the next week's.
Yeah, for sure. Overall wrap up, I would have to go 6 out of 10 on this one easily. Like I said, my least favorite of the 3. Doesn't mean it's whack. And I saw someone in the comments earlier mention, I just want to touch on this, like, are we not allowed to disagree with the panel? And like, for one, like, as much that we're critics, but we're fans first. So like, we're looking at four boxes of people who are like diehard Marvel fans. Yeah. So like, we're allowed to nitpick and, and we're just giving our personal opinions on things. Like, we're not writers, we're not working for Marvel. We're doing this for fun on the weekend. Yeah. But at the core, it's a love and appreciation of the art of Marvel. So like, that's when you have fun of picking things that you didn't like and what you did like. So I just want to touch on that.
Yeah, I appreciate
it. No, for sure. But yeah, still a 6 out of 10. But that's my opinion. But I'm gonna be, we're fucking talking about people who are staying up to 3 a.m. to watch this stuff. Like, we're not the same.
Yep.
We're not the same. But yeah, as far as next week, I think I predict a better episode, like, in my opinion, because I think they're gonna have to touch on this Wakanda piece to kind of give us some explanation there. Yeah. And if it goes back to explaining some John Walker stuff, but not, doesn't, capitalize the whole episode, then I'm cool with that too, just to see, what I'm supposed to feel about this dude after this week. So interested, I'm looking forward to it. Now we're in the final countdown here, so it's crunch time.
Yeah, this is the halfway point. And to Chris's point too, I appreciate you saying that sentiment there, Chris. Again, we wouldn't be, if we didn't enjoy the show, there would be no way I would be doing this for almost 2 hours every single Saturday, because I love the MCU. We love the MCU. And we have our, gripes about certain character developments and all that. But if we didn't love this stuff, we wouldn't be talking about it. But tossing it to you, Griff, your overall take on this episode in regards to, if you want to throw a score there. And then, of course, if you have any predictions for the weeks ahead.
I don't know about a score. I mean, maybe like a 5 out of 10. I don't know. But like, as for the weeks ahead, I am actually interested to see the John Walker episode. Yeah. Just because I think like it'll give us a fair amount of time to explore who he is. And like his background and everything, and like his relationship with Battlestar, like that, I don't know, that to me sounds like it could be interesting. But I don't know if it'll be the whole episode. I think obviously they'll have to cut back to like stuff going on with Bucky and Sam and whatnot. But it does feel like a good point to sort of like pivot in the direction of John Walker to explore him a little bit. I just wish they would do that with Karli and the Flag Smashers. That probably is necessary as well. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I don't really have any predictions or theories or anything, but I am looking forward to next week, I guess.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And so overall thoughts again for me, like Amanda, I was a little bit more on the lighter side with it, because this was just like, again, I look at this show and these series as just kind of like a spin-off of like a comic book run before we get back to the big screen, Avengers and all this stuff. This was just like that fun episode when Bucky broke Zemo out of jail and Zemo's on the dance floor and we get Sharon Carter coming back. I just had I played into the hand of like the fun moments, knowing that there were some undercut moments of like character development or backtracking on the character, but hopefully next week, which I just looked on IMDb, which fingers crossed that Derek Coulson goes back to the character moments, because he is the writer of next week's episode. So consistently speaking, he did get the opportunity to write another episode. So maybe what he established in this episode has a better payoff than the setup was. So we'll see what he has to offer. Again, my Keanu Reeves theory might come true if he's the writer of next week and he comes into the mix or whatever the case may be. But fingers crossed that episode 4 will dive deeper into John Walker and his wife and him being this villain, a creation of the U.S. agent. maybe he gets his hands on that serum, and John Walker becomes a super soldier of a sorts of his way, as well as his buddy. I wasn't like blown away by Torres, but I would like to see Torres get back in the mix a little bit more in regards to that character and setting him up more. But of course, give me more of Isaiah Bradley, man. Give me more of Falcon and Sam dealing with his family issues. I hope that Sarah was not just let's throw it in just to give you, forced TV drama. I want to see more of Sam trying to help his family out as well as being a superhero, right? That's what these superheroes, that's what makes it so cool is like, can you imagine being paying your bills, but also saving the world at the same time? So hopefully we get more of that. And of course, more of Bucky and the Winter Soldier and Zemo on the dance floor. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That's our full breakdown of the episode. Lukewarm on it, but I think by the end of the season, we'll see that this episode set up maybe some good things for episodes 4, 5, and 6. So there you have it, guys. If you have any other questions or anything for us before we head out, definitely throw any, questions for us, and maybe we'll stay for another 5 minutes or so. But this was fun, guys. Again, I have so much fun doing this every single week. Amanda and Chris, my road dogs, and again, Griff, man, I always appreciate you stopping by and sharing your opinions on things. So, again, just to kind of shoot it for another 5 minutes or so, guys. What's the plans for the rest of the day for you guys? And then we'll see if we get any chats, any questions that come in. Man, any movies on the list you're going to be watching this weekend?
Honestly, I have no idea. It's Easter weekend, so it's all fam jams and trying to stay together. So I may just take a break this weekend.
You need a break. I mean, listen, Amanda, I love how much you're a part of this community and hopping on people's streams and doing a great job of doing so. But yeah, you definitely need to take a little nap.
You guys are all awesome. I want to talk to all of you every single day. Like that's why. So
I love it. I love it. Chris, man, any plans for you, man? Are you going to check out Godzilla versus Kong or watch Concrete Cowboy again?
No, I'm not gonna watch that again. But yesterday I actually did. It was my first return back to the movie theaters in New York City.
Oh, nice!
To reopen them. So it was an interesting experience. I don't know if you guys have been to your theaters yet in your different cities.
A whole last year for me, man. I haven't been to there in an entire year.
I'm gonna tell you the most troubling part of it. This is serious. So I went to the movie. Right now, of course, I'm still gonna get my concessions. I still need my snacks, and if I go to the movies, my go-tos obviously popcorn. But if I'm feeling like really in the mood, is nachos and icy. Now, hear me out. I went to get the nachos, and the woman brings me the nachos with 1 cheese. And they actually what you want 2 cheeses. You want a cheese and a salsa. I don't know if you guys ever buy nachos at AMC.
I do.
Yes.
So get this. She brings me back 1 cheese, and I said, "Oh no, but the other one I'll take just another cheese. It's extra now."
What?
So now,
no.
This is crazy. I've been dealing with this for 24 hours. You're the first person. You're the only people that care about this. So I'm gonna have to keep in a world of we're trying to like save the movie theaters, right? And we know we can watch at home, and the industry has been saying to save the movie theaters, the movie theaters are going to have to elevate the experience.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is not how you start by elevating the experience.
It's bad.
Of course, they need more money. Of course, but
you
want my cheese money? That's how you're going to save it, with cheese money?
Oh, God, that's a lot.
Then you go to you get the drink, and then you can't pour your own drink anymore. They have to you hand it to them, and then they do it for you.
Yeah.
And okay, so again, this is my last thing. I'm going to stop. When you get the ices, there's a regular lid, and then you get the lid for the icy, like this. She didn't even fill it up to the lid.
Rude.
You buy some Lay's, and it's
devastating.
half empty. Oh man, they did you bogus, bro. And I guess
that
that's how much was that extra that fee, man? How much was it?
I can't tell you.
Cheese.
Yeah, that's a great Tessa. And I was meant to ask her how much the cheese was, but I knew that I wasn't getting it, so I didn't even want to. So I was gonna go on Reddit and see if anyone else is complaining about how much the cheese is. But this wasn't this is not ghetto theater. This is Lincoln Center. This is our biggest. I think it's the biggest IMAX in the country. I didn't see an IMAX movie, but it's a theater. It's Lincoln Square. It's
unbelievable.
Very popular theater. So I was like, this is the experience that I'm back. The nachos aren't cheaper.
No,
they're giving me less stuff.
Wow,
that's unreal.
What movie did you watch too? I didn't even. What movie did you see? Did you catch?
I watched Boogie. the basketball
Oh,
movie.
okay. I was just saying you left the lead there, so was it not a good film?
You whispered that too. Like,
I mean,
I was like, I watched that much
There's like so much good shit. There's Godzilla's in there, Raya's in there, like Promising Young Woman's in there, Minari's in there, like every like Oscar shit is in there, and I'm like, yeah, let me get Boogie. I mean, I did it for like the basketball and like that's a New York movie. That's for the culture. I got to support, and for Pop Smoke.
Yeah.
That movie's terrible. That movie's
God.
terrible.
Wow.
The lead actor is not good, and like the basketball scenes, like Ellie, I know you're a basketball fan. I don't know if Amanda, you guys are, but when you watch a basketball movie, it's part of the thing. Like the actor is not a basketball player, and Pop Smoke is definitely not a basketball player. Yeah. So like when they're cutting the scenes, it's like, you know, like when you watch like Air Bud, it's like the dog's not scoring, so it's like Pop Smoke's not dunking, and it's like. It's not
supposed to be like Above the Rim, like a remake of Above the Rim, or sort of that type of story with Tupac and
5 second recap of this movie. Wow. This dude Boogie is the main dude. He's a Chinese American kid that just wants to make it to the NBA and get his family out of like poverty. Pop Smoke is like the best basketball player in Brooklyn, and the young Chinese kid named Boogie, he knows like if I beat this guy, I'll be known as the best in the city, and then they'll want to get me to college and into the NBA. That's the movie. There's no like violence and there's no gangs and just basketball, and then that's it.
To get to the league, and that's how people get to the leagues nowadays, is winning one-on-one basketball games. I didn't know that was.
I mean, it's like his team versus like Pop Smoke's team.
Okay, gotcha. And the NBA scouts are there.
Yeah, it's
high school. They're
because
they're supposed to be playing high school people. They're like adults.
Like they're 30. Yeah,
30-year-old.
He's trying to get a scholarship to go to college.
Oh God.
But they don't. The colleges don't want to give him a scholarship because he's not that good.
Wow. Sounds like a masterpiece, man. Sounds like a masterpiece. But there were a couple questions, and we'll call it a day. Again, I don't want to hold my people, my wonderful panel too long. Adam did have a super chat earlier. Sorry to be a pessimist, but it's only 6 episodes. I don't know if they're going to give us satisfying ending. Phil, I feel WandaVision all over this. It's interesting. Amanda, do you have anything to add to this, or thoughts on, again, knowing that this is the first MCU shows, there's setups too. We know the MCU loves the setup. This is a show, so not all things are going to be ending with a perfect bow. Yeah,
and like I know this is new. These MCU shows are completely new. This is like a test, for the first 2 seasons of like WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier. Yeah. So if it has like a similar ending to WandaVision, where it's like very open-ended, nothing is tied up, I'm just gonna kind of be disappointed. I do not want the last shot of Falcon and the Winter Soldier to be like Sam and Bucky parting ways and like Sam with the shield. I'm going to come to terms with it because that's probably what's going to happen, but I don't want it to happen. But maybe they'll get a season 2, or maybe they'll get their own movie and then I can watch it on the big screen, for the love of God. Yeah. But I'm going to be disappointed because it's just 6 episodes. There's no way you can tie all of this up unless you jam pack like 4, 5, and 6 with like everything possible. But then it's going to be all over the place. It's already messy. If you really look at it, these characters are not fleshed out properly whatsoever, and like there's missteps, and we're catching that, and we are nitpicking. We love the show. It's just that we are nitpicking, but it's the fact that like we care about all of these characters, we care about them and their development. So it's just the fact that 6 episodes is not enough. It hasn't been enough since day one, since we heard that, right? And like WandaVision got 9, and they didn't do it justice in 9 episodes either. Like that could have been compacted into 6. So, give or take. I just don't want to be pissed off at this ending. I really don't.
I'm preparing myself to not get all things wrapped up. So I'm already going to kind of, get my mindset in there. But I hope there are some ties, and I think there will be. But I mean, before I get to my thoughts, Chris, man, your take on, 6 episodes. Again, we don't know what the future holds, but can you see this show based on everything we got in these first 3 episodes? Can 50% of this be wrapped up in a good way?
Yeah, I don't know if it'll be a satisfying ending. I don't think maybe it'll be leaving us with as much as WandaVision did, but I think we did that to ourselves a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think the shows are just designed to kind of just keep the story moving forward. I don't think they're designed to just give closure. I think they're just like keep the show going, develop some characters, make us like people that we didn't know more about before. So I don't know about like unsatisfying, but I don't think it'll end with some like clean, like nice little bow on it. But I think it'll still end strong.
Hopefully.
Your take on what, at least I guess, what storylines would you like to see have closure versus knowing that we're going to get some more continuation of certain storylines?
The main ones, like the ones that are the most important to the show, like obviously with Sam, Bucky, the Shield. Yeah, I mean, I guess Zemo to an extent. I don't know. It's interesting that what they're bringing up about the episodes thing. I feel like these television shows have slowly started to realize that they are. I think they're exposing Marvel's weaknesses as a storyteller. And especially with like the week to week breaks, I think it's great for like exploring and diving into and stuff like that. But it is also sort of allowing people to like see. Some of the issues that are consistently, in like not only the series, but just like in the films as well. And so, I don't know. And like, if that's the direction that they're heading in primarily, which is television, they really need to tighten up some of those issues. Otherwise people are going to get kind of fed up really quick.
That's a great point, man. And I think too, just thinking back to phase 1, they learned from Iron Man 2, the Hulk, Thor, and then by phase 2, phase 3, a lot of those things that we had gripes with, the villains being underwhelming, killing the villains off, and certain storylines not playing out. I'm not saying this is a phase 1 type of approach, like kind of throwing stuff at the wall and hope it lands, but I think they're going to probably learn for the first couple shows, at least for this first year. Yeah. And by the second phase of season 2s and new introduction shows, they'll kind of iron out the things. I think, honestly, they should stop giving the reveal of how many episodes are in a season, because that just takes away a lot of, like, now we're just thinking in our head 6 episodes doesn't sound enough, but we don't even know what the rest of the season is going to look like. It could be a satisfied ending, but I think they should not. I know what they're doing. They have shareholders. They have to build the hype, like prepare for 9 episodes of Wanda and Vision, prepare for 8 episodes of Loki. But I think they should not give us any more of like how many episodes will be on an episode, and just kind of let it be a surprise to the audience. I don't, with leaks and scripts getting out there, which, but we'll see. But I think, for me, I just hope that, like you said, Griff, that they finish at least what the mission is. They stop the Winter Soldier or the serum. At least they get that. And as far as Sam getting the shield, we'll see how they handle that, because I think it's going to be very similar to WandaVision, which, we talked about it, where if you didn't watch WandaVision and all you saw was Wanda in Endgame, and next time you see her will be in Doctor Strange, I think that some people will be able to maybe understand what she could have went through without even watching that show. I think that might be the same with Sam and Bucky, that we just assume once you've seen Sam at the end of Endgame, you're going to see him in another film. He has a shield, but you didn't see the show to see how he got the shield. So there might be some things that just like don't didn't need to be in the show. So we'll see, but fingers crossed on how they wrap it up. So I think that's about it, guys. Again, got some funny comments here about again the great story you gave us, Chris. That sounds like a origin story of the Flag Smashers for me, Chris. That sounds like you need to go ahead and get your own kind of group going and revolt against this extra cheese charge.
Someone in your live is already writing the script, so I already lost the rights to that.
It's a conspiracy. That'll be pretty soon. But look, man, we're gonna wrap it up. Again, I thank you guys for tuning in. Those watching the replay, make sure to like, share, comment in the comment section. But before we head out, I got to give my amazing panel some plugs, the opportunity to tell you all where you can find them. Starting with you, Amanda, we're gonna find you on. You got 9 more streams for the rest of the day, right? To pop on too.
I'm sleeping. No, you guys are all amazing content creators. Please go follow, sub, do everything, because they are fantastic, and I love interacting with them all the time and have these wonderful discussions. You guys can always find me over at AMX NDA Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. I have hot takes, so come on over. You guys can find me over on YouTube at Candid Cinema, and check out my website, candidxcinema.com. I'm covering the Canadian Film Festival this weekend, so I have some reviews coming out.
Very awesome. I look forward to that, guys. Again, you won't be disappointed with what Amanda gives you all. She is fantastic, and can't wait to see her back next week to talk about episode 4 of the Falcon and Winter Soldier. But Chris, man, what's next, man? Are we gonna have a review for this cheese saga and the refill? I need to know it, man. I need a full video on that, man.
Yeah, no, it was cool because I got to reactivate my AMC A list, so it was like interesting just to see, like, just to be back in the building. So I mean, I complain about the cheese, and I am upset about the cheese, but it was good to be back in the building just to see a movie. And I look forward to see a couple of the movies that I didn't get to see. Some of the Oscar nominees are still like in the theater, so it'd be cool to check those out. But yeah, I'm at Tate's Take. You guys can check out my takes on movies, TV shows, documentaries, all that kind of good stuff. I just did Concrete Cowboy. Next week, I don't know what's on the docket. Amanda and we got to have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
She manages my channel, to make sure I don't mess up and say something get canceled or whatever.
Facts.
But yeah, just want to take a quick time to shout out Elliot and Amanda having me on the show again, and Griff. This guy's a pro. I don't know if we've done a live since we did Wonder Woman, but this guy is legit. And just been it's an honor to talk movies with you and TVs and stuff with you. So just happy to be a part of the group today.
No doubt, man. And we appreciate you having you on every single week, Chris. And again, guys, check them out. And I think next week, what is next week? Them on Amazon is the next kind of big release, which I'm really excited to see. I'm going to be probably watching this weekend. But yeah, guys, Chris, Tate's Take, do yourself a favor, subscribe. You will not. I mean, listen, because I never give you as much compliments as you are. Your intros, dudes, are hilarious. I don't know how you should just stand up comedian, man. You have some really great humor and, of course, a great opinion.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Man, no problem. But our special guest today, Griff, this isn't the first time you've been on the channel. This isn't the last, my friend. I'm so glad you were able to join us today and give us your opinions on the Falcon and Winter Soldier and also talking about Black Widow. But what's next for FilmSpeak, man? I know we got a video essay lined up somewhere.
I was actually gonna publish one this Wednesday, but I don't think that's gonna be the case. I'll probably take a break this week, and then next week I'll release that one I was gonna do on Tomorrow Never Dies and why I think it's a pretty underrated Bond film, and then from there Mortal Kombat, all that other good stuff. But yeah, that's what we have. Well, and then of course you and I, we're gonna be talking Falcon and the Winter Soldier next Friday, and I'm sure you all will have another opportunity to get mad at me for disliking something. I don't know. So that'll probably happen. But yeah, Chris, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that. And Amanda, it's always great talking movies and everything with you. You guys have incredible channels. So yeah, keep up the awesome work. And Elliot, thanks again for having me on here. It's a pleasure, just talking with you in general. So yeah, you can head on over to the FilmSpeak channel, subscribe, and you can check me out on Twitter at Griff Schiller.
Guys, again, do yourself a favor. Check out these great content creators. Make sure that you're subscribing, following them on their social media accounts, all that great stuff, because again, they are just incredible people with incredible takes and opinions on things. And yeah, before we head out, guys, again, as far as movie files go, again, check out my review for Incredible episode 4, as well as later this week, we'll be talking some of Them, which is coming out later this week, which looks to be very promising. I'm trying to find a clip before we head out, which I don't think I'll be able to find before we leave, but and I think you guys might know what clip I'm looking for. A little bit. But again, for those that are watching this on the replay, make sure again to like the video, share the video, all that fantastic stuff. And we're just gonna head out on this little note right here.
On Sirens.
Oh,
Yay!
There we go.
Zemo, I need the dance show, ladies and gentlemen, of him dancing, getting down in the club. With that being said, guys, have a great weekend, and we'll see you on the next video.